progress we're making. I mean, it takes a lot to go into this and to consistently be in this position. And I mean, it doesn't go unnoticed. You know, the team behind me, they absolutely crush it. It's a joy to race, Bryson. You know, the laps were clicking off, and it's good. It's good to be here. And thank you to GNCC for letting us race and continuing to have this progress. And my team, you guys are awesome. And yeah, that's you know, never how you want your bike to look at the end, but hey, we'll take it. Second, rolling into Tennessee, we're gonna go. Hopefully, we'll just close that extra 6 seconds we need. But no, good day. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, man, that was badass. I'm not gonna lie. Coming into this race, I had high hopes that we show up here and the track was completely different than I expected, and kind of was a bummer. I'm not gonna lie. And I was like, all right, well, everybody else is racing this track, so let's make the best of it. And there on the start, we knew it was gonna be key. Like, it was so dusty and so fast, so rocky. If you were at the back, it was gonna be really hard. And me, Steven, and B-Neo, we all jumped at the same time, and none of us wanted to lift. I was like, dude, I'll flip before I lift. I'm getting to that corner. Well, they pinched me, and Steven and me came together, and both of us dove on the front end. And I was like, well, none of us lifted. All of our balls were hanging a little big. They were like, yeah, we want that thing. But yeah, then B-Neo, I don't know if he got a JM or something. He spun out, and I was like, okay, like, we're up front. I think I was like top 5. I was like, let's just ride smart. This is where I wanted. And yeah, from there, just, dude, the amount of times I went off the track and hit a tree and went flying over a berm, smashed a rock, I was like, dude, it was insane. We were just pushing the pace so hard. It was because it was so fast. And yeah, Hunter was out front, and I was just trying to catch him. And it was just like a yo-yo. Every time I'd come up to him, we'd get in a dusty section, he'd pull away, or we'd get a lapper in between us. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. It would have been cool to have some good dirt, just really, really wheel to wheel. But no, it was a lot of fun. And then my girlfriend, my dad gave me a pit board that B-Neo was coming. It was like a corner later. He was already there. It was too late. I was like, oh, he's here. And we came up here. A couple lappers got together, and I was on the outside and kind of got pushed with them. Well, then that jumbled me up for the next couple corners. Sure enough, he had a sick line, pulled through all these tall weeds and just blazed by me. And then I was like, all right, we'll just latch onto the back of him, and hopefully we can catch up to Hunter. And rode with them for the majority of that lap. We got into this back half, and it got really dusty. And they just got like just enough where I was getting dusted out. So I rode there by myself. And now the last lap, I was just grinding, just trying to reel Hunter in, just do everything I can without getting hurt or hurt the bike. And I'm sorry, Matt, the bike's hurt. I know the brakes are gone. It's freaking clinking and clacking over everything. So no, it was a good day.
We saw a couple of those close calls, and Johnny and I even talked about it. The sindiness of Wyatt Wilkin today was something impressive.
Yeah, I was just laying it all out. I was like, you know what, screw it. We made a joke earlier, like, we were all talking last night, me, John Glotto Jr., and Kenny Schick. We actually added Big Dog in as well because he's not scared to go fast, and we're just like, tomorrow let's die. Let's just go as fast as we possibly can, try to take down B-Neo. And dude, I wasn't even meaning to actually do it. I was just flying over corners, and I was like, all right, we got to turn this back, but it was sick.
Duke GNCC, let me hear you. This is your XC1 Pro Podium. Where them dogs at? Let me hear you. Bryson, Neal, Hunter Hart, and Wyatt Wilkin. We've got 100% chance of champagne showers here in Hazard, Kentucky.
Round 6 of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series and AMA National Championship heads to Tennessee for the specialized old grade GNCC. Can Bryson Neal go 6 for 6 in 2026? It all starts now on RacerTV.com.
Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing!
everyone, and welcome to the Specialized Old Grade GNCC. Johnny, we make our return back here to Tennessee for now the 3rd year in a row. What do you think?
Man, 3 years here in Monterey, Tennessee at this Old Grade facility, and I'm just as excited as when we came here the first time. You know, we're coming off a really momentous round just 2 weeks ago. We're here, we're ready to do it all over again, and it's definitely going to be exciting. But what a race we had in Kentucky 2 weeks ago. You know, the conditions were challenging, obviously, with the dust and the rock, and we thought maybe for the first time this year we were going to see Bryson Neal knocked off that top spot, but it wasn't meant to be. He charged back, came through the pack, grabbed the win, and just made for an absolutely exciting battle the whole time. You know, so many other riders up in the mix there. Hunter Hart leading a lot of the race, and Jay Shadron also up in the mix throughout, getting the whole shot or getting to the lead early and leading so much of that race early. And it just really builds the anticipation coming into this weekend event. It's definitely going to be some awesome racing action up there for sure.
It sure is, yeah. Jay Shadron, he had the headlights shining bright, and we worked our way to a very, very rocky course there in Kentucky, Johnny, and I'm expecting some of the same here this weekend in Tennessee.
Yeah, you know, we'll check out our Yamaha Racing track description here in just a bit, but definitely we're in Tennessee. There's going to be rocks, but the interesting thing about this track is that it really provides for some unique old-school GNCC racing. I haven't been out to actually preview the course myself, so I'll be as excited to see this upcoming track preview as everybody else. But, you know, from years past, I can tell you it was a pretty fast track, but a lot of rock, and there's also some really good soil in the back section of the track, so there's a lot of diversity in the race course itself. But what I'm told this year is they've gone back, they've tightened it up, a lot of extra turns, kind of not as flowy as it's been in the past, so I think that's going to lead to a lot of passing opportunities for these guys and make for some exciting action.
Yeah, well, let's hear about it from them. We're going to catch up with Bryson Neal, our current points leader here in the ATV side.
We're off to a great start. 5 rounds deep, 5 wins. Kind of been in a lot of different scenarios so far. We've done it from the front, getting whole shots. We've been able to have bad starts from dusty races, have great conditions like Talladega, perfect primo stuff. So, I mean, had a little bit of everything except the mud. And we know the mud's coming at some point. So, as of right now, coming to this weekend, weather looks great, track looks beautiful. So, and bike's feeling really good at home. Had some really good seat time. We're just chomping at the bit. Can't wait to get out here on this old great course.
All right, so there you heard it from the man himself. 5 for 5 coming to the racing action here today. Bryson Neal is on an absolute tear, but at the top of the list of the guys trying to stop him, trying to wrestle away that #1 spot is Wyatt Wilkin. He's been riding very well. He was on the podium 2 weeks ago, and we know he's going to come out here swinging, but we had a chance to catch up with Wyatt, get his thoughts coming in today's Old Grade GNCC.
3rd place was tough to swallow, but man, I had a lot of fun that day. I'm not gonna lie, just battling all up front all day and just trying to fight the dust and keep Neal behind. I honestly had a lot of fun, like I said, and watching back, there's like things I wish I could have changed, but at the moment, I was like, man, I did the right thing, and my bike survived. I finished with a podium, but all in all, that was a good weekend for us.
And there it is. Got to catch up with Wyatt Wilkin, and now we said it. Round number 5, you had the headlights shining bright. Let's hear from Jay Shadron on what he has coming into round number 6.
It was good, man. That start is what we really needed. Bummed I didn't get the actual hole shot, but we took it over and took it to the woods, and I just felt good, man. Got comfortable up front, just doing my thing, laid a good pace down, and kind of got away from him, and just checked off a lap, and then went into the second one, and I know just a lot of stuff goes through your mind when you're up there. It's like, where's everybody at? What's going on? Good day all in all. You know, it's always good when you're up front, you know, being up there. And yeah, still rotoring for 4th, so I can't complain. We're doing good.
All right. Well, Jay Shadron, always a fan favorite, making big splashes here in 2026. And without any further adu, you've heard from the competitors. We hyped up the race. Now let's see what this racetrack is all about. We're going to throw it down to our man, Zach Herron, with our trail boss, Jared Bolton, for our Yamaha Racing track description.
All right, well, Jared, the wing may be a little busted up, but you're still out here with us and, of course, helping set up and design this course. We've got the trails cut. What do we have in store here for round number 6?
Well, you know, welcome relief from last race. You know, the guys, not everybody's crazy about riding in the scrub brush, but be careful what you wish for. Getting in the hardwoods here, and when I say hardwoods, this place can be pretty technical. You know, it's a lot of rock here in Tennessee. It's not overly hilly, not super steep, but that rock adds a pretty good challenge. And you know, for the motorcycles, there's a little bit extra thrown in that's brand new. The course is a little bit shorter this year. We've got some places that we've been in the past that we're kind of staying out of this year, out of some requests from the area. And what that'll do is, while it makes the track shorter, it'll kind of make the racing more intense. Kind of keeps everybody maybe a little bit tighter together, and then add in that technical stuff. Guess what? That's going to tighten things back up as well. Overall, it'll be a totally different race than last week. It's going to be really good.
There we go. Careful what you wish for. Jared Bolton's been working on it. He's got some surprises in store. Let's go racing.
And now that we've gotten a chance to catch up with our trail boss, Jared Bolton, we're going to get ready for some 10-second calls and throw it down to Zach Herron.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? Don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
Racing. Here we go. I want to welcome you all to beautiful Monterey, Tennessee. Not only those of you here in person, but all of the thousands of folks watching from around the world live now on RacerTV.com. We're here at round number 6 of the 2026 Progressive GNCC season. The specialized old gray GNCC. And we are just about ready to introduce you to the fastest ATV pro racers in the world. Let's get ready, your XC1. In accordance to points, he makes his way out of Bidwell, Ohio. He's on the Phoenix Racing Yamaha ATV. He's running the #1, and he's undefeated so far here in 2026. Make some noise for the Bidwell Bullet, Bryson Neal. Rolling to the line next. He makes his way out of Hillsboro, Ohio on the Stewart Boys Racing Kinda and Fierce Performance backed Yamaha. Put your hands together for the #5 of Wyatt Wilkin. Rolling to the line next. He makes his way out of Newfield, New York on that HHR Fly Racing and Quad Tech back Yamaha. It's a 318 machine. It's Hunter Hart. Rolling to the line next. He's on the 712 machine out of Waxhaw, North Carolina. The Phoenix Racing Yamaha Action Off-Road and Fierce Performance backed ride. Scraping the back in there, none other than John Glada Jr. Rolling to the line next, out of Acme, Pennsylvania, on the Action Off-Road Maxxis Lone Star Racing back Yamaha. The headlights shine the way. Make some noise for Jay Shadron. Rolling to the line next, he makes his way out of Elkridge. He's on the 908, the B&R Motorsports Kinda and Fearless back Yamaha. It's Stephen Harrell. Rolling to the line next. He makes his way out of Akron, Ohio on the Merritt Racing, B&R Motorsports and GBC back Yamaha. The big #3, it's Josh Merritt. Rolling to the line next. He's out of Walker, West Virginia. He's on the Sturdivant Racing, Maxxis and Moose Racing back Yamaha. It's the #15, it's Brandon Owens. Rolling to the line, 9th, and on the #9. Sunbury, Pennsylvania on the Action Off-Road Amsoil CB Racing back Yamaha. It's none other than Mr. Chris Borich. Rolling to the line next. He's a fan favorite and for good reason. Out of Waverly, West Virginia on the Obor. Boost Racing, Parts Unlimited, and Lone Star-backed Honda machine. Make some noise for the Gator, Adam McGill. And rolling to the line last but certainly not least, he makes his way out of Salisbury, North Carolina on the Phoenix Racing Yamaha. The 171. Put your hands together for none other than Grayson Eller. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your XC1 Pro starting lineup. Here from round 6, the specialized Old Gray GNCC. As things start to get serious now, and as if it couldn't get any more exciting for those of you watching at home on Racer TV, I'm feeling a couple of raindrops on my hands right now. We'll see whether or not Mother Nature wants to be a part of this race as well. Maybe just doing a little dust control. We'll see. One thing about it, our racers in store for an incredible course, as we have had wheel-to-wheel battles all day long. And the party's just getting started. DJ Judd hops out of the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport. He's already got the gold sparkle helmet on. Say it with me now. DJ Judd, remove the meat. As he takes his place alongside that start straightaway. Fantastic job once again by the GNCC Racing crew. These first couple of corners, seeing a lot of lead changes just within the first couple of corners. We'll see how it all shakes out here today. Ricky Towery goes down the line, lets him know 1 minute, 1 minute. That final pump up from mom, dad, the mechanic, whoever you got in your corner. If you ain't got it figured out, it's your last opportunity before we get ready to go racing. Here for round 6, officially in the mid part of the season. And there it is. Blue flag waves, shut them down, shut them down. And I gotta ask you, Monterey, Tennessee, Old Gray GNCC, are we ready to go GNCC racing? Oh, come on now, guys. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. One more time. Old Gray, are we ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds for row number 1, your XC1 Pro. There's the flag. Here we go. Who's it going to be? A drag race headed into turn number 1. Woo, a big kick. But no doubt about it, Wyatt Wilkin gonna maintain control through turns 1 and 2. Looks like Hunter Hart right behind with Jay Shadron in that number 3 position. Tough luck for Josh Barrett. Hung up there in turn 2, but all is clear. As now we set our sights on row 2. 10 seconds, XC2 Pro-Am. Flags up, Keaton Henderson, Talon Stout, Kitty Schick, David Machisco, Dalton Keys, Braxton Gross, Elijah Edmondson. Oh, let's see. Edmondson once again lightning off the start. Elijah Edmondson has got something figured out off of the line, but we've got a freight train of riders caught up here in turn 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 riders all stuck as we've got a hold on the line. All right, clean and clear. Here we go, row 3. 10 seconds, College A. Barrett Childers, Trip Marino, Evan Bridgewater, Ryan Wilhelm, Zay Kyle, Keegan Chigo, Garrett Rhodes, Graham Weaver, Cooper Crew. Let's see it side by side. Woo, the 911 machine of Jericho Edmondson. Don't need to call 911 after that. He has got it figured out. As once again, some flip-flopping at the front of the field. And look at that. Looks like there was a big get-off headed into turn 1. Trying to pick up the whole shot. Didn't even see that one rider being checked in on. We'll let you guys know exactly what we're going to do. Maybe running that alternate start. We'll wait and get a word from the officials. Taking just a second, going to try to get that rider taken care of. We're going to move over towards the medics. Safety first, obviously, here. Before we get ready for our next row. Great job from the track crew there, getting to them as quick as possible. All right, here we go. All clear, all clear. 10 seconds, bet A. Jeremy Ladon, Alan Blabo, Simon Moore, and Cade Vanderpool, Alex Elioff, Tyler Griffith, Christopher Kirby, Zach Bothwell, Tanner Walker. Woo, let's see, Elioff. I'm going to give him the whole shot, but he ends up snagging, or giving away that lead, I should say, on the inside of turn number 2. Here we go, clean and clear. Next row, 10 seconds, Junior A, 20 plus. Ellen Lowviller, Garrison Paul, Michael Worth, Gavin Mann, Tyler Coulter, Gavin Temple, Todd Fiddler. Bumping and banging. That's going to be the 285. Grabbing that hole shot, Caden Lambruno. Man, we've had some chaos in these opening corners. Everybody fighting for those insides. Stay off of the track. Stay off of the course. If you are not track personnel, here we go. 10 seconds, Senior A. Dirk Deseri, Jeffrey Pickens, Ben Dunlap, Zachary Phillips, Chris Conklin, and Fred Marley. Let's see, 303 on the helmet, Jeffrey Pickens. How about it? Papa knows how to get it done. Makes his way through, and how about it? A clean and clear start. I like to see that. Junior B, 19 plus in 10 seconds. Flags up, Tristan Howell, Cade Wishmeyer, Coy Texer, Matthew Hammer, Ryan Beebe, Wyatt Mooney, Adam Saffel, Chandler Thurman, and Dylan Bothwell. Woo, how about it? I'm gonna say that's the 400 of Beebe grabbing the whole shot. Oh, but he gets spun around. Talk about from the penthouse to the poorhouse. Man, first to last, just like that. He's gonna get it plugged back in. Nods ahead, he's okay, but he's got his work cut out for him. 10 seconds, Bet B, 28 plus. Tyler Miller, Barry Nicholson, Kyle Patton, Clayton Kawasaki, Joe Rutherford, and Levi Wilcox. Let's see, it's a battle into turn 1, slideways. That's the 613 of Levi Wilcox. Leading him in and out of turn 1, and looks like he's gonna hug those insides and maintain that lead. 10 seconds, College B, 16 to 18. Brady Shepard, John Hancock, Cooper Kessler, Austin Harshbarger, Connor Humphreys, Wyatt Baum, Braden Toney, Eli Edgar, Ethan Barber, Austin Wilson. Who's it gonna be? 075, how about it, Brady Shepard? First on my list and first across the stripe. Out of your College B class. One rider. Trying to get it back, rubber side down, gonna plug things in, fire them back up. Get off and rolling, here we go. 10 seconds, Senior B, 40 plus. Aaron Delancey, Joshua Howell, Nicholas Ringer, Denny Carson, Ricky Lewis, Joe DeHart, Robert Perry, Craig Slutson, looks like Dustin Barger. Who's it gonna be across the stripe? Oh, look like maybe the 6-7-0 potentially. But already, look at that, some flip-flopping at the front of the field as we have a clean and clear start. Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially Specialized Old Gray GNCC Racing. And if those starts don't get you fired up for the next 2 hours, I don't know what will. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be back with more GNCC Racing here live on Racer TV.
everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call tonight. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to Monterey, Tennessee for the 2026 Specialized Old Gray GNCC. Jackson Burrow standing here with Johnny Gallagher, and now the one and only Mr. Jared Bolton going to be joining us in the Racer TV booth here today. Zach Cairn going to be by here in just a second. But, boys, we are off and rolling here in Tennessee. It looks like it's going to be a good one.
Well, Jackson, the storyline coming in today for ATV Day is what's it going to take to stop Bryson Neal? Well, Wyatt Wilkin firing first in today's battle, grabbing that XC1 Pro hole shot, and that is exactly where you need to start. If you want to beat the man, you got to start in front of him because he's done it from getting hole shots. He's done it from coming from the back of the pack, and right now it's Wyatt Wilkin out front leading the way, at least right off the start there. But what a storyline, what a great track, and time's got rolling here. Looks like we're going to start off with our start recaps here. We had our premier classes underway, starting off with our XC1 class here for our specialized start recap. As the boys were lining up today, you could see Bryson Neal getting limber, checking in the watch, always tracking that heart rate. But when the flag drops, the BS stops and straight to the front. You see Grayson Eller with a great jump, but up the inside there, Wyatt Wilkin on that number 5 Action Off-Road Stewart Brothers Racing Machine, and then it's Hunter Hart and Jay Shadron just behind him. You see Josh Meritor on the outside, getting himself a little loose, gets into the back of Bryson Neal, spinning himself around. It's Neal. Looks like also up in the mix there was Chris Borge, Brandon Owens, John Glada Jr., and the rest in tow. You can see some dust starting to kick up already, but we do know there's some good moisture in the woods out there, fellas. Then we went to our XC2 Pro-Am class in Jackson. This one was a little hectic.
Yeah, it sure was. You can see around turn number 1, it was smooth sailing. But right here, this is where things are going to change at this hay bale. We saw problems with this hay bale all day. 5 riders going to get caught up right there. But it's the 247 machine, Johnny, with the hole shot.
Absolutely. Elijah Edmondson always quick off the line, but you can see he starts his own little bottleneck there in turn number 3. and it was the 716 of Logan Steele going to the front, followed by Chase Allison in the number 2 spot. So, man, things were hectic through the first couple turns for that XC2 class. Riders a little bit younger, maybe not quite as patient, wanting to get to the front on what we know is going to be a relatively tight track here today. Jared, I think this is a great spot for you to jump in here as our resident track expert for our Yamaha Racing track map. What are the boys facing out there today?
Oh, man, this year, this is a little bit mixed up. If you look back there, kind of between the 4 and the 5 mile mark, there's actually a back and forth section that we're not using this year. That came at the request of, some property owners back there doing something a little bit different. So we always respect our landowners. They help us out big time. Actually, there's 2 different landowners on this property, to make up this race course. So once you get on that back half, basically from like the 2 all the way back to, I'd say about 4.5, it's a totally different world back there. That section back through there is really, really good dirt, a lot less rock. It gets a little tighter in places. And then kind of as you work back over here where you see the bulk of the racetrack, there's a lot of rock. Still fairly tight, gets pretty technical, and kind of mix it up. There's some open stuff too. You guys talk all the time. You quad guys, you're like, man, you can't pass anywhere. But you know what? I've seen a little bit this morning, so there are some opportunities to do so.
Yeah, we're talking about those rocks. We're in Tennessee. It's rocky territory here, and the front half of the property, very rocky. Even the parts where there's dirt, you're kind of just bouncing over that dirt from rock to rock, and that's what these guys are coming through here. Those are your leaders. It was to Wyatt Wilkin out front, Hunter Hart in the number 2 spot, Jay Shadron in there as well, Bryson Neal, Brandon Owens. They're starting to distance themselves. Guy expect could do big things here today. Stephen Harrell, then Chris Borch, John Glauda Jr., all coming through, and you can see just how much those machines are being bounced around. There's Grayson Eller, Josh Merritt after that little detour. There's the Gator, Adam McGill there. And, man, what a mix-up here early. We can see some gaps already starting to open up in our XC1 class, and those rocks just not being done justice. Obviously, you guys get brought great coverage here from Racer TV. But as we watch our XC2 class come through, it is still the 716 of Logan Steele, but he takes that outside line, and, he's able to hang on to the lead. So, and that is Lane McCormick there on the number 512, 6'9" on the plates, but 512 is his race number, and then Chase Allison in the number 3 spot. There's your whole shot winner, Elijah Edmondson. Looks like Jeremiah Wolf, Kenny Schick, and then Braxton Gross, your points leader, actually looking like he had a rock flip up and jam that machine up, had to stop, get that untangled. Then it's James Glauda, looks like that might be Chris Kirby there. I see Henderson, Keys, looks like Talon Stout, and the rest all coming through there. So that XC2 class bunched up. And that just goes to show that shot we saw right there, that rock flipping up, and Braxton Gross, rather than trying to hammer through that thing and potentially damage the machine, letting off the gas, backing up, actually reaching over the front of the machine and moving that the barricade in his way there, just goes to show you how challenging these rock sections are here at this old gray GNCC racetrack.
When you watch this, you look at it, you think that rock's all in the ground, nice and solid, but they do move around. They move around a lot. Even those real big rocks that truly are stuck in the ground, they actually flex a little bit more than they look like. And, of course, they're kind of shelly, so they will break off. That's probably what happened, is that actually was a section of rock that just broke off from somewhere else. And you know what? That was a smart move. It's still early in the race, so, why risk it right there? The first lap, that's pretty smooth.
There's an old saying in racing, you cannot win on the first lap, but you sure can lose. So Braxton Gross, sometimes the discretion is the better part of valor, taking that extra moment there to back off the throttle, move that rock with his hand, actually. Don't see that very often, so that was a cool shot from our Racer TV camera. We wait and we watch here at the 5 mile marker. You see some riders, well, you don't know they're riders, pedaling by on those e-bikes. Actually saw Jack Walker, who I believe is our XC2 points leader right now for tomorrow's race on Sunday, out there inspecting the course. So these guys take any opportunity they have to get out there when the course is clear, and they can kind of check out some lines for tomorrow and just get the lay of the land. Now your leader on screen, and there it is still, the number 5 of Wyatt Wilkin. There's Hart in the number 2 spot giving chase. Still Shadron rounding out the podium positions in 3rd, but here comes the Bidwell Bullet in 4th there, and it is Brandon Owens rounding out the top 5 here 5 miles in to lap number 1.
Yeah, and as you see, you see the dirt, this transition, this is actually that exact transition I'm talking about. This is where you come from the back side of the property up to the front side of the property, and you see they're coming up through really nice dirt, beautiful dirt, and they're getting back into the rock again. So it really is almost like there's almost like a dividing line with this property that goes from rock into really good dirt, and it's pretty visible right here.
Yeah, and you were mentioning that in the track map, you know, from the 2 to the 4.5 or so about how good the dirt is. Well, that means everything from the start to the 2 and from the 4.5 to the 9, it's kind of more like this with the rocks mixed in. So it definitely is a track you have to adapt on the fly. Here comes Adam McGill, and looks like behind him, Chris Borge. So this is the battle of generations here. We've got the 2 elder statesmen of that XC1 class just ahead of the 171 of Grayson Eller doing battle there. Those are the last 3 riders coming through in our XC1 class. We will wait and watch. If we stay at this camera shot here for the XC2 class, we do know it was the 716 of Logan Steele out front after the melee through the first couple turns, and looks like he is still holding on the lead, but he's got some company behind him now. Lane McCormick is there, Jeremiah Wolf is there, and Elijah Edmondson. So your top 4 in XC2 up this tricky little hill climb here at the 5-mile marker.
So guys, now that they've made their way through, Jared was talking about the passing opportunities. We were talking about these rocks, and we were actually able to catch up with the Bidwell Bullet and talk to him a little bit about just that.
It's a dang good feeling, you know. Obviously, you want to get the whole shot, and you want to set the pace and try to get out front and win that way. But to 2 races in a row, you know, have the fast guys in front of you and have to track them down and pass them, it's a dang good feeling to come through and do it in that fashion, and to, you know, have good straight-up rides. It don't get better, and it feels so good to earn it that way too. You know, the best races I've ever had is the ones where you have battles all the way down to the finish. Something happens on the first lap, whatever the case may be, and you have to fight for it. And you come back through, and it's just a grinder all the way to the end. And those are the most memorable for sure.
Well, there you go. So the Bidwell Bullet talking about different ways to win races. The last couple, he has had to work his way through the pack as we watch some of our A-class riders now starting to work their way through. But the one thing that Bryson talks about he really enjoys is those battles to the finish. Have not seen that here on ATV Day, at least for the lead, yet here in 2026. Bryson Neal really has been controlling these races, and even at the last round, able to get around Hunter Hart early on in the last lap. It was close, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a battle right to the finish. Once Bryson got that lead, he was able to stretch it out just a little bit, get comfy, making that pass on Hunter Hart just after the white flag. And we hope to see that battle to the finish here today, because that's what the fans at home want. That's surely what we want, right, Jared?
Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for all year, to be honest. I mean, you know, Bryson is incredible this year. But, you know, the odds are there. You know, I don't know how to figure out the math. There's got to be a percentage chance at some point something is not going to go his way, and somebody's going to be able to capitalize on it. And maybe somebody just straight up keeps him honest.
Yeah, and speaking of keeping him honest, we were able to talk to Wyatt Wilkin about just that, and then trying to track down that Bidwell Bullet of Bryson Neal.
It's just like each weekend, like I take it week by week, and it's not a big thing. It's not like, oh, I'm dropping 2 minutes off of Bryson tomorrow. It's just like, oh, can I be a half second faster here? Or Bryson put his tire here, why didn't I? It's small things, and it just starts adding up. And when you go from an amateur to a pro, there's a big jump, but once you're here, it's just little tiny things that just you got to get better at. And man, I'm trying. I'm figuring it out each week. Like you said, I'm in and out, and just last race was the closest any of us have been to Bryson in a long time. Obviously, he had to come through the pack, but man, it goes to show that we're getting closer, and maybe this weekend somebody will take him down. We'll see.
Well, there you have it, folks. Wyatt Wilkin talking about his nemesis, which is the Bidwell Bullet, Bryson Neal, our 4-time and defending champion. Perfect here so far in 2026. 5 wins in 5 races. And if you look at the lineup in that XC1 class, there's a lot of younger-ish riders that are really kind of continuing to develop, even per se later in their careers. You know, you got Wyatt Wilkin, you've got Josh Merritt, you've got the resurgence of Jay Shadron. You've got so many guys in the mix. We've got the new blood of Brandon Owens. So many riders trying to mix it up. And it is just those small little things. And the other thing you have to kind of note here, we haven't talked about him a whole lot this season, but the only rider really to take the fight consistently to Bryson Neal the last couple of years was Walker Fowler. Obviously, he's missed now our first 6 rounds with injury, having a broken back just before the season started in late January. There is some scuttlebutt that he will be back on the machine next week to start riding. But with the absence of Walker Fowler, I think it's almost given, seemingly, Bryson a little bit more confidence. And But then you see riders like Wyatt Wilkin, and again, all those riders we just mentioned and more that are really picking up the pace and saying, hey, we're not going to wait around, as you had mentioned before, Jared, for Bryson to have a bad race. We want to take the fight to him, and they're doing just that today, currently holding him in that number 4 spot, and it's 3 of those names that we mentioned that are up there leading the way, and Brandon Owens giving chase behind. So these guys are figuring it out. They're getting stronger, and we'll see what the Bidwell Bullet has for them today, or maybe today's the day that one of these guys just straight up runs off and leaves everybody.
And I feel like Bryson Neal, what's helped him get to this point in his career is battling with people like Walker Fowler, and I only think Wyatt Wilkin, Hunter Hart, these guys are going to be that much better from having to deal with that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when someone like Bryson gets to where he's at, super comfy right now, just riding with a lot of confidence, machine dialed in, you know, he has his program absolutely dialed, and he elevates that game, raises the bar. You know, you're left in a position where we don't want to sit back here and fight over just top 5s or even podiums. We want to get wins. Everybody else has to step up their game and chase him down. And that's why we see, whether it be 2 wheels, 4 wheels, even the MTBs, when you get a rider that kind of runs away from everyone, you see suddenly that gap, not suddenly, but slowly over time, that gap closes down. These guys are hungry. They want wins. They want championships, but they've got to go through Bryson Neal to get them.
Yeah, and you know, that's every few years we see that, it's like changing of the guard. You know, if you think back on the bike side, you know, it was Juha Salminen, you know, the ATV guys, it became Walker, now it's become Bryson. You know, it's an incredible thing. Every few years, you think these guys couldn't possibly go any faster, be any better than what they are, and somebody figures out that little bit extra. And once they figure out that little bit extra, everybody else figures out as well.
Look at this new leader in that XC2 class, straight to the front. Looks like unless I missed Logan Steele, looks like Jeremiah Wolf has actually taken over that number 1 spot, and Lane McCormick hard on the throttle and chasing him down, and that looks like Steele there. So a little setback for him. He is now back to the tail end of the top 5. They're running in that 4th or 5th spot. So look at that. It is, and now back to the lead. Here's the battle. You can see the dust kicking up, and they're getting pretty close to the end of this track. We should see him here just about another mile checking in. And it looks like it's smooth sailing for Wyatt Wilkin out front. Hunter Hart in the number 2 spot. Jay Shadron with the headlights in the number 3 spot. Bryson Neal 4th. And in the number 5 spot, it is Brandon Owens, a rider we've talked a lot about this season, and for good reason. A young rider, newer to this class, and it's been an absolute battle for him to work his way up into the top 5.
Hey, guys, I want to let everybody know that is on property here with us. We ask you, if you're on those e-bikes, if you're out there spectating, to please stay off of the track. Everybody that is on property with us, of course, you can go out there, as always, here at GNCC, but please stay off of that main racing line on the track.
There we go. So safety first here at GNCC. Want to make sure everybody gets through the day, both racers and spectators safely. We can see some e-bike riders off there in the distance. They are not on the track. They are track adjacent. But look at this. Wyatt Wilkin open things just a little bit over Hunter Hart. Jay Shadron looking really strong. You know, likely a little bit of confidence for him from 2 weeks ago. He grabbed that early lead, didn't quite have the whole shot in Kentucky, but got to the front early, was making dust, and led so much of that race. And he absolutely is seeming to carry that confidence into today. But the presence behind him is strong, and it's the big number 1 of Bryson Neal.
It sure is. Seeing him on screen now, making his way into what is their pro row, and still going to be Wilkin that is leading the way with Hart just behind Jay Shadron. Headlight shining bright. I know I saw Sierra Shadron with a good run today. Not sure if she was able to finish it off, but nonetheless, I'm sure she had some good advice for Jay here today, and he's putting it to work.
Absolutely. It's always interesting. You know, I can remember back in the day when they first started doing the morning and afternoon race, you know, to be able to get that kind of intel, track knowledge from the morning racers. And you go out there, in fact, this was before e-bikes, we would walk the track and you could see it, but the track, it's a living, breathing organism. It changes throughout the weekend. And
people walk places?
Oh, yeah. We used to walk. It was before iPads, too, by the way.
Yeah.
But, no, you would get out there and walk the track, and when it's leaf covered and, you know, the soil seems pretty unassuming, it can be like, okay, well, we think this is going to happen. But now, with especially as many racers as we have here at GNCC, the tracks get beat up, they shape up very quickly. So to be able to talk to, in this case, you know, you're talking about Jay Shadron and his wife Sierra out there racing in the morning race in our women amateur class, and for her to be able to come back and say, hey, this section that we pedaled is getting bad, or this line to the inside is better, that is very, very useful knowledge. And you can see that inside line those guys are using there, and the top 4 have really bunched up here. We saw them starting to string out, the dust kicks up, and that visibility definitely a factor in some of these sections, but we see there's still moisture in the woods making for really great traction and very, very predictable visibility. So these guys are pushing a really good pace right now.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty dusty out in the open, but, you know, I've kind of roamed around the woods a little bit. Obviously, I'm a little limited after my injury at the last race, but, you know, I was able to get in the woods in a few places, and what you see, it looked like on TV, is exactly what it's like in person. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful in the woods. We got a little bit of rain here at the beginning of the week. Had a pretty strong storm Monday night, rolled through, and then a little bit of rain Tuesday night, and actually since then, it really hasn't been much. But it was kind of just the right amount. If it would have maybe rained a little bit more, the fields would be a little bit better. But the woods are, I mean, it's beautiful out there. And you truly couldn't ask for better conditions once you're into the trees.
Well, and you could see that there, Jared. On the start, obviously, we had seen a lot of dust kicking up in those first couple of corners. But out here, this is in the open as well. Really, the dust only on the edges where the dirt's been churned up and then the wind and the sun get to it. The interesting thing for me when we were looking at that camera shot, the drone shot actually, before the riders came through, you could see footprints in the dirt there, and there was actually, you could tell there was moisture in them. It wasn't like dry, dusty footprints. So what that means to me is there's a lot of grip in this dirt, and these riders are really going to be fighting the machines as they're trying to make some of these tighter corners and holding the front ends down of these big 450cc machines. All these guys have big motors, you know, trying to get that start. You're leaning on trying to get as much horsepower as possible. And right now, Bryson Neal trying to put all that horsepower to good use, trying to get around Jay Shadron, but Shadron being stingy and holding on to that number 3 spot.
Brandon Owens on that 15 machine is going to be right there, though, Johnny. I saw it in a camera shot or two ago and thought, is that a rider, one of our lead riders? And it is. Brandon Owens is going to be right there with Bryson Neal now.
Still Wilkin, they've stretched themselves out a little bit now. Hunter Hart giving chase, and then it is still Shadron, Neal. And look at this, just as we mentioned, Brandon Owens getting close, something setting him back. He has lost a big chunk of ground. I'm guessing he has had a setback of some kind, either connecting with the tree. There is Owens, but look at that now, Harrell right to his rear wheels. So Owens losing a bunch of time there, and just, there's only 2 corners between those 2 camera shots.
But it's pretty tight in there.
Yep.
So it's actually very tight on a quad. So,
that's right along that property line.
Right on the property line.
They split a fence.
Yep. Yeah, there's an old fence line that runs through there, and the trees have grown up all around it, really, really thick. Actually, we cut that out brand new last year.
Yep.
And I think between me and Jeff Russell, I think we cut on that thing, I felt like half a day. But yeah, it's very thick in there, very tight, so really, really easy to just catch an edge.
Yeah, and when you're on an ATV, if you catch even just a little bit of a tire, a lot of times it'll pull you into that thick brush. There's vines in there, like we talked about. There's an old fence row, so a lot of debris in there that can get kind of caught up in the machine, or you can get caught up in as you're trying to traverse that section. Back to this rock garden we saw a shot of earlier. You can see the machine just jumping up off the ground when he hits that rock with Wyatt Wilkin. Still in the number 2 spot. A great line there from Jay Shadron, kind of straight lining through those trees there. And Bryson Neal picking up on it, following him as well. He looks so tall on that machine, the way he rides it, just kind of uses those legs. And now look at this, Owens has made some time back up here, and Harrell there sitting in the number 6 spot. So it is your top 6 right here at the 1 mile marker, taking their time, picking their way through these rock sections. And then it is Glauda and Merritt who are now actually starting to close up on the leaders a little bit. So these guys have a good pace. It looks like Wyatt Wilkin is really charging out front, but things are not really opening up. The gaps are actually starting to close down. We might have a 7-rider leader battle for the lead here soon. Yep, I'm tripping over my tongue.
And that's what I'm talking about there. I mean, you know, we've been waiting for that all year long, and, you know, this is the perfect kind of track for this to happen. You know, it is a little more technical than what we've had in the past few races. I mean, you could argue Kentucky had some pretty technical areas, but by and far it was a little bit on the fast side. But here, this is definitely, you know, the most technical terrain we've had so far this year.
Well, and to your point, talking to some of the riders up on the podium earlier today, still got some faster sections in it, and everybody has had something that they've liked about it, right? I've asked, is it your favorite course? Maybe not my favorite, but I really like this. I like that. Some people love or hate the rocks, but that's not the only defining thing about this course out here. So to your point, I think this is really a racy course that's allowing our riders to show what they're capable of at the top of their ability.
You know, I've rode utility ATVs for a long time now, and every time I watch this XC1 pack, I'm absolutely blown away at what these guys do on an ATV. And, you know, Johnny, I know you had quite the career, and I was always impressed that you always hung in there as long as you did. And it's just the same thing with Chris Borich. You know, you guys, I've learned here recently, as you get older, this stuff gets a lot harder. But, you know,
guys hanging in there like that, just always impressed me.
Yeah, it's the ATVs definitely take a much larger toll on your body than the motorcycles do. Obviously, in your case, just a few weeks ago, you hit the ground, and when you do that, you're liable to do some damage. But you take a serious beating on the ATV, even if you stay on it. It's really hard on the lower back and the neck and just all the joints. You just don't have as much suspension. You're carrying all that speed, and because of the width of the tires and the fact that you have 4 tires on the ground instead of 2, you're just hitting that much more stuff. So it definitely is a challenge to try to smooth out some of these rough sections of racetrack, but technique is what it comes down to, and that's where we see someone like Bryson, and we're starting to see that with some of these other riders really developing their racecraft, and it's not always about just point and shoot, find the straight line and push your way through. It's kind of just picking your way through these sections, dissecting the racetrack, figuring out where your bike's good and where your technique's good, and then managing the rest of the racetrack. So it's, like you said, it's anything else. I mean, I spent my entire life on 4 wheels, and when I get on a dirt bike, I think, of whether it be today's greats like, Ben Kelly and Grant Davis and the rest that are up there just absolutely ripping. Or if you think back to the days when it was Barry Hawk who was able to do it on both, like, it's always just amazing to me how quickly those guys on 2 wheels can make it through these sections and carry speed. But it's like anything else. You work on something, you get better at it, and you do it long enough, you get pretty good. So looks like Jeremiah Wolf still continuing to lead the way in that XC2 class. There is Elijah Edmondson sitting in that number 3 spot. He has gotten his way around Grayson Eller from that XC1 class. We do see a couple of both College A and Vet A riders up in the top 20 overall, with Jericho Edmondson, Tanner Walker, Alex Elioff, and Harrison Lindsay. 4 riders inside the top 20 in that overall amateur. So the kind of caveat there is, we've only got 3 positions on that overall podium, so they got their name on the ticker on Racer TV, but only 3 of those guys at the end of the day, or maybe other riders, will work their way up to actually get to stand on that podium and be interviewed. There is Braxton Gross, a little bit further back than he'd like, in that number 15 spot overall, and looking like he's sitting 5th in that XC2 Pro-Am class. That is your points leader in that class. Started off the season like a rocket, grabbed a bunch of wins. Been a little bit of struggle for him here as of late, not having a great performance by his standards 2 weeks ago in Kentucky, and some other riders really starting to gain momentum, including Lane McCormick, Jeremiah Wolf, and actually grabbing the win at our last round, not inside the top 20. We did see him tangled up in turn number 2 there. Was Dalton Keys, a rider that was his first, I believe, his first ever XC2 win. A rider out of Indiana, so not so far from here. Definitely expect to see him making a charge through the pack after that tangle up in turn number 2.
Yeah, the XC2 podium was actually really interesting as we see Wyatt Wilkin on screen. It was not only his first win, his first podium in the XC2 class. What better way to do it than in the center of the box? But meanwhile, the 2 ends of the XC2 podium had a little bit of back and forth going, something to say to one another. That was Braxton Gross and Lane McCormick. Sounds like the riders have found each other a couple times out on the trails. Maybe things have, gotten to a certain boiling point, but we'll keep our eyes on that battle between the XC2, because I don't think there's any love lost between the 2 of them. Both of them feel they're the top guy in the class, and at the end of the day, they're fighting for a championship.
Yeah, and there's definitely a backstory there. I mean, if you look, 2 very different paths to where they're at, but each of them feeling like and likely are on the path to the XC1 class and potentially being in the position to compete for overall podiums. But Braxton Gross, being a West Coast kid, coming up, raced a little bit of youth GNCC stuff on a 150, kind of cut his teeth. Frankly, it wasn't very good, but was a standout performer on the West Coast in the works races, actually as a young 14 and 15-year-old battling for overall wins out on the West Coast. Coming 2 years ago to the GNCCs, kind of starting to cut his teeth on the 450 on the bigger machine once he turned 16, and has been a force to be reckoned with in that XC2 class. Even last year, battling for that championship with our last year's champion Alex Tiemann. Lane McCormick, a youth standout, came up through the youth ranks from all the way down on a little DRR, 70cc machine, maybe even raced to 50 in the micros as well. I don't remember that far back, but coming from a GNCC family, stepping away, we talked about him a little bit, pursuing his career as a lineman and getting himself established as a grown man, and coming back and saying, hey, I want to win this XC2 title. He has a bunch of youth titles and some amateur titles already, so this is the next step in his progression. And I think a lot of that is just kind of posturing and chest puffing out, but I do know that those 2 definitely, I think at this point, have kind of established themselves at the top of a very short list of contenders for that XC2 title, and it'll be interesting to see that battle continue on.
Yeah, and I think Rivalry's healthy. Nothing was said that was across the line. It wasn't anything that you need to take the microwave from. But at the same time, it is interesting to hear that you know, it's passionate. We talk about it all the time. Our XC1 riders are so good at kind of putting the race behind them by the time they get up on the podium, and just talking about those positives where Kevin Kozad was even joking this morning about our micro podium interviews, maybe a little less censored, a little too honest sometimes. The XC2 letting us know really how they're feeling and how much passion they're putting into it. This is a night and day 365 24/7 job, and they're putting it all out there. So yeah, I like to see it. I love the emotion and the passion that these riders show.
Well, and for a little bit of perspective on that, you know, generally speaking, when you get to the XC1 and, you know, you're one of the top riders in the country, you've got a lot of people backing you. Those are companies that kind of want you to toe that line. Not that they tell you, but they, you know, if you're going to represent products and brands, you know, there's a certain level of polish that is hoped for or expected. Some people break that mold and just go off on their own, and that's fine, to each their own. We've got the Danger Boy Deegans of the world who have plenty of support and say what's on their mind. But, you know, I like what, you know, I didn't hear those interviews on the podium 2 weeks ago, but, you know, again, Lane McCormick, a number of years ago, was seemingly the hottest up-and-coming prospect at GNCC, stepped away from the sport. And sometimes I think, I know Lane relatively well, I think it's funny how these guys kind of create their own drama. You know, Lane made a lot of posts early in the year talking about, hey, I know everybody forgot about me. No one forgot about him.
His first podium, he said, who's washed up now?
It was him himself saying that, but they project that on others, and then it kind of comes back to them. And it's interesting to see. Some people are fueled by that fire. Others, it burns them and tears them apart. So, and then again, Braxton Gross, very under the radar up until just about a year and a half ago. And now I would say, in a lot of people's mind, he is kind of the next big thing that everyone's watching. Lane McCormick, maybe a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, saying, no, that's my spot. I want it. And right now, so far in 2026, he's proving that he has the stuff to at least get up there and battle. Lane, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, does not yet have a win in 2026, but he's been a very consistent fixture on the podium and sitting in a good position in those points as the races continue to click off.
No doubt about it. Certainly makes it fun for us to watch here on RacerTV.com. Once again, everybody here on site, want to remind, no EMTBs on the course during the race. You can speculate, you can make your way around, but please stay off of the course. We've even got a couple here on the camera. Don't do that. Safety. We don't want to see it.
Yeah, you know, there's plenty of time when this race is over to go check everything out. And actually, this has always been one of my biggest complaints. Because, you know, a lot of times these guys like to take off in front of me right as I'm about to take off on the sweep. And I'm going, hey, like, the track's going to change between now and when you actually race on it. So you're actually kind of hurting yourself looking at it too early. I know you want to get the lay of the land. I get that. But, yeah, when you start jumping out there so early, the track's changing just from that. Not just that, but sometimes, you know, the little mini dozers go around and fix things. And,
Rock's hard to push, though.
Rock's hard to push, yeah. I don't think that's going to be an issue here.
Yeah.
But, you know, other venues we go to, when you take off and, you know, they start nosing, well, now everything you've just looked at is totally different.
Yep. And the track does definitely, we talked about how it's a living, breathing organism. You know, it's not that it just necessarily breaks down during the races. It changes based on the riders, the lines that they're using in each individual race. So if you go out there and you look at part of the track after a youth race, it's completely different than after an amateur race and then after a pro race. And again, the same thing happens again tomorrow. We show Wyatt Wilkin on screen here. Here's Hunter Hart in the number 2 spot. And then we're waiting and watching here, I believe, still hanging on to the number 3 spot. We'll see if it is still, and it is, Jay Shadron. What a story Jay has. You know, we've talked about it a lot here on Racer TV, but he has had a very kind of up and down career, much like Lane McCormick, who we were just talking about, stepping away from the sport, coming back, some major injuries. And I actually believe we had a chance to catch up with Jay and talk to him a little bit about his journey in GNCC racing.
I mean, I went into pro class in 2014. I was young. I think I was the youngest guy to ever do it. I was like 17. So it's like I skipped the XC2 class because my theory on it was we were already beating all the XC2 guys. So it's like, why even go into that and do it again? Just might as well just move up and skip it. It worked out well. Had a lot of great runs. Even led some laps, got whole shots. You know, the whole deal. And continued on until about 2016 was my last season in pro class. And I don't know, just the age I was kind of burnt out with it. You know, there's just so much, and I just wanted to do other things. You know, I was young, wanted to do other stuff. Ended up quitting racing, buying a house, doing the whole deal. Never really quit riding. Always kept a quad, kept riding with my buddies, did dirt bikes, all that stuff. Yeah, and then just got the itch one day. Me and my buddies were just talking about it. He's like, you want to go ride some sportsman races? I was like, yeah, we'll go do it. And then just started doing that. And then they're like, well, we might as well just do a full season. Because, you know, so I just jumped back into junior A class and we did good, we won, and I was like, well, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, so let's keep doing it. And, you know, won that championship. Next year come around, we did XC2 for the first time, won that, and it's just kind of like a new spark, you know, doing everything my own way. You know, I'm just doing it all myself, so that's the way I like doing it, and just kept it fun, you know, just not relying on anything but how I did it, you know, to control my own destiny with it. That's what I like to do.
Well, and you know, keeping it fun, that certainly is the mantra that they're living by around the Shadron pits, and you can see it when they're setting up. You can see it throughout the weekend. Even seems like their pit stops are more fun than the others. People smiling. It's chaotic, but it's still enjoying and embracing the chaos. And I think a big part of that is the perspective that Jay Shadron has, not only just on racing, but on life in general. He's one of those riders where, like we said, an interesting journey in his racing career, but he's had some pretty significant injuries outside of racing that are life-altering, affect day-to-day life, not just your racing ability. And we were able to talk with Jay a little bit about that as well and how that has affected his outlook on racing.
So that's what we're working with. So, I'm not sure not a lot of people even know, you know, it's like not people really even know about it. That was really devastating, honestly. I never thought I'd even really be able to ride, let alone race again. And then finally I was able to get to the point where I could get on a quad and try it. And I was like, man, I think I could work at this and do it. I never expected to come back at this level, no, at the time. Just kept working with it, and I was like, you know, I'm really not that far off where I need to be. And I have a certain set of goals in mind. I've achieved every single thing except for win one race. That is the only thing I have left to be satisfied with my career. I'd say that like recently now I'm showing like where I want to be and where I'm satisfied to be is up front in the top 3. You know, that's where I want to be every race. That's I think that's where I belong at, and I think it's starting to show.
Well, now, and a cool thing about that, not only, Johnny, is he adapting the way he rides the machine, but they're adapting the machine as well to help deal with some of those injuries, having to change a couple of things up and help that machine essentially work with what he's able to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he obviously he showed that was his clutch hand, his left hand. Yep. And to be able to hold on to the grip and work the clutch as much as you need to go at that speed is a challenge for sure. And I think we have an interview with him talking about some adaptations they've made to the machine for him to be able to run this pace and some technology that's available.
I had to go with the recluse auto clutch because I can't really get to the lever. And pretty much adapting to that. My turning style, I kind of got to like hook my left arm because I'm usually a tucker, but like my left arm I have to like hook this way to try to pull the bars. Relearning a different style and using that clutch, not using the clutch, you know.
And so that's interesting. We've talked about it even before off mic, but that's the first time I think I've actually seen his hand without a glove on it. So it just goes and makes it that much more impressive. You know, we talk about how impressive his ride is, him getting into shape, him being able to compete with these top riders, and then you throw that into the mix as well. And he's never been the kind of guy where that's the first thing he wants to throw out as an excuse or a reason why not. Shadron, I'm sure, had we not asked you to never even mention it, but really is impressive the things that he's overcome, not only just in racing, but in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jake kind of keeps that close to the vest. You know, again, doesn't want any special treatment. It was an injury due to an accident that he sustained 3 years ago now, maybe 4 actually. And it was just one of those things where I can remember as he was going through it, and when he started riding again, I was like, oh man, that's really cool that he's riding. When he talked about coming back to racing, I remember speaking with Matt Pierce, he was close with him at the time, and him saying, yeah, you know, he's going to come back and race XC1. And everybody kind of like just had this like feeling of, is that even possible given his limitations? And when I say limitations, let me make it very clear. He's proven that nothing is going to hold him back. His mindset, his work ethic, his willingness to adapt himself and the machine, he's overcome anything that many would have just looked at as, okay, well, you know, I can't do this anymore. So it just goes to show the spirit of GNCC. And the spirit of GNCC, just as we're giving Jay all those props, and he is still right there, spirit of GNCC is never give up. And Bryson Neal not giving up, continuing to fight, working his way around Jay Shadron, now up to the number 3 spot, and that will relegate Shadron back to that number 4 spot, but still very much in touch with the leaders. And now we see again the gap's changing. No Brandon Owens and no Stephen Harrell. So those two have fallen off of the pace in the number 4 and 5 spot. And it looks like it is now Harrell. So maybe another mistake from Owens. But Harrell sitting in that number 5 spot and charging hard on that 908 BNR Motorsports machine. There is now John Glauda Jr. up to the number 6 spot. He has gotten around Brandon Owens as well. There is Owens in the number 7 spot.
You know, watching Bryson work his way up through there, that to me, that's just Bryson Neal doing Bryson Neal things. You know, you guys can run with that all you want, but this dude is absolutely incredible. But I'll tell you what, these boys are not making it easy on him today. This very well could be, I know we've kind of said this already, this very well could be the first time all year we really see him have to work harder than he's worked all year.
Yeah, we saw, everyone really elevated their game there 2 weeks ago at Kentucky with Jay Shadron, Hunter Hart, Wyatt Wilkin all up in the mix there, and Bryson Neal really sitting back in that number 5 spot and 4 spot throughout much of the race. And then as the race kind of fell into place for Bryson, where he made it fall into place, we saw him with those quick zap passes. We saw those lines he had definitely picked out on Friday or Saturday morning, pedaling, going out there, doing the work, figuring out, okay, if I'm close enough, I can run this outside, square it up, give me more drive to this inside. And I tell you what, those Yamaha Racing Live drone shots we had from Kentucky were some of the coolest shots we've ever had of the battle for the lead. And we saw Bryson Neal just like he's doing right now, methodically just continuing to work at it. And right now, as much as Wyatt Wilkin is throwing at it, Hunter Hart matching him every step of the way, and Bryson Neal closing the gap. Jay Shadron still very close and in touch back there in the number 4 spot. And this really is the same riders that we saw just 2 weeks ago in Kentucky, the top 4 out front. Today, they've definitely opened up the gap a lot over the riders behind them.
And we often speculate about the effort level. How much are they putting out right now? Are they running full at 100%? And Bryson Neal is one of those riders where you can genuinely tell when he's hit the go button. And it would seem like he was just kind of taking his time, waiting to get around Jay Shadron, which he had to do for quite a while 2 weeks ago as well. But immediately you can see that sense of urgency is there. He recognizes, game recognizes game, as they like to say. Hunter Hart and Wyatt Wilkin, they're not just those kids that are coming up, the next generation. They're here, they're hungry, and I think they're starting to get a little more belief. You were talking about the 2-lap card coming out before we even saw Bryson Neal, I believe, in the lead 2 weeks ago. That's almost unheard of. That maybe not a big deal for Bryson Neal, but he knows it was a big deal for Wilkin and Hart's confidence. Right now, Bryson moving into 3rd place quickly, and I think he wants to try to make these passes before Hunter or Wyatt even realize he slipped into the top 3.
Well, Zach, you talked there about confidence and how much a good ride, like what we saw from Jay Shadron and earlier in the year, Brandon Owens, and so many of these riders, confidence builds confidence and enhances ability. Well, the same is true, in the position Bryson's in with 5 wins. Any little bit of spark for these guys can kind of make them think, hey, maybe I can do this. But if Bryson's continually able to just come through the pack, make these passes, it starts to take little chips away from their armor. And it looks like that's what he's trying to do here today and say, hey, you guys might have got the start. I was kind of back mid-pack, but I'm here again, and I'm going to fight you to the finish for this one. And I think if he can get to the lead, we may see him even try to put in a sprint and get away. But I don't expect that Hunter Hart and Wyatt Wilkin and even Jay Shadron sitting back there in the number 4 spot are just going to let him get away. They're going to fight for all they're worth.
Well, and as we can see, that gap starting to open up between 3rd and 4th place, and that was also the tail of the tape where it just seemed like those top riders continued to get faster and faster as the race went on until they were absolutely all out. I know, Jared, our last round, you were kind of out and about, not able to be here in the Racer TV studios, but it was kind of new territory for us as we see now Brandon Owens into the pit. So this is a big shakeup, going to be an alternate pit strategy, something more than likely happening to the number 15 machine. We saw him drop back a couple of spots. And then this is where, Jared, you and I were talking this morning, those alternate lines leading into the finish line, that's going to be something to watch all the way down to that checkered flag.
Yeah, and that's, it took a little while this morning to get people to warm up to it and try it out. It is kind of a, you have to make an aggressive left to get around there. And if you really flow the outside and stay on the gas, you could argue that outside line might be a smidge faster. But again, if you get that left-hander done just right, that inside line is definitely the advantage there. And I'm glad to see it, kind of taken off. And what that tells me is tomorrow for the motorcycles, that's going to end up becoming a really popular line.
No doubt about it. And it was, kind of these weird, awkward lines that require some setup where we saw Bryson Neal make those slingshot quick passes just a few weeks ago. Absolutely incredible, and kind of left us with our jaws on the floor here in the truck, because I at least didn't even recognize those lines were there. This one a little more defined, but best believe Bryson Neal may be on the charge. Easy to think he's getting that tunnel vision we like to talk about, but Neal oftentimes scanning, whether he's found it, checking out the course beforehand, or just adapting throughout this race. Seems like when he needs to, Neal's got a couple of tricks up his sleeves.
Yeah, tricks up his sleeve. I mean, that's something that comes with experience in racecraft, and Bryson Neal has it in truckloads. We've seen that so much the last couple seasons with him winning those championships and doing it every which way you can imagine. Through adversity, through bike issues, he just finds a way to get the job done, whether that be a win or max points on the day. But to me, Bryson looked earlier on like he was kind of settled in, and to your point, it looks now a little more sense of urgency, even though he could see the leader right there and Hunter Hart just ahead of him in the number 2 spot. I think he may have some spots picked out here because he's not sitting back there just kind of letting the race happen. he looks like he's gone on the offense, and he is trying to get himself in a position to get his way around Hunter and ultimately work his way to the rear wheels of Wyatt Wilkin if they continue in the same run.
And you know, he's smart too. He's not going to give those lines away this early in the race. You know, those are the kind of things that you really kind of want to save until you're, I don't want to say really, really need them, but you know, kind of wait for that key time, you know, when you know, okay, this is my opportunity to use this.
Well, and part of that racecraft too, Jared, is when you're out pedaling, or even as those lines develop during the race, if you see one and you feel like your competitors don't, there's kind of that sense of, oh, there we see John Glauda Jr. kind of climbing up that tree in the opposite section of racetrack going the other way here before the 1 mile marker. You definitely want to make sure that you're close enough to make the pass work, because if you show that line and you get up next to somebody, well, then they know it's there for the next lap. So it's one of those things where kind of keep it in your back pocket until, like you said, you need it. But I think if Bryson has any lines picked out right now that he feels he can make a pass, I think he'll use them now, just because I think with this track being the way it is, he feels he has more pace, and I think if he can get to the front, he's going to try to run away. Try being the key word there, because, again, I don't expect Wyatt Wilkin, Hunter Hart, you know, even Jay Shadron. We've seen these guys latch onto Bryson, learn that pace, and continue to improve their skills to be able to hang with Bryson. There we see Glauda there now in the number 5 spot. Or, sorry, in the number 6 spot. He is still behind Stephen Burrell, who came by. Now we flash back to this rock garden, see if this causes any chaos this lap, boys.
Now, a question for both of you in your riding opinions. We saw just a few weeks ago a lot of riders talking about as the race wore on, they got more comfortable, felt like the track improved, whereas other locations we've heard we kind of start to lose the track as the hours wear on. What do we think we're going to have? Do we feel like new lines are going to develop, or options are going to start to get more limited as we get into later and later into this race?
You know, I think the ground here is so hard. Even where I said we've got really good dirt, it's still hard packed, that it's really not going to go away. I think it's actually going to get better as the race goes on. And same thing, these guys are going to find some different lines here and there, show that poker hand, and show what they got.
Yeah, I agree with Jared. I think the ground is so hard here, and with the rock mixed in, it really is just one of those things where the track is what it is. It doesn't deteriorate near as much as some of our locations, some of our properties do. It just kind of stays the same. Yes, you'll have some rocks kind of rolling left or right or in the middle of the track or out of the middle of the track, but the overall racing surface really does stay consistent throughout the entirety of the 2 hours here, and really honestly throughout the weekend. You can see things starting to tighten up. Brandon Owens has been able to make up some ground again on the riders ahead of him, Glauda, and there is Merritt back in that number 8 spot. So things continuing to shake up here at the 1 mile marker, Zach.
Absolutely. Things always getting exciting, and things getting mighty exciting here in the Racer TV truck as well. We've got James here from the U.S. Navy. The Navy been a kind of regular visitor to us throughout the 2026 season. We talked about before what the U.S. Navy is looking for in their recruits in the next generation of Navy operators. But why don't you break it down a little bit more, man? We're here at GNCC. Why does the Navy feel like this is such a good opportunity to maybe feel the next generation of Navy personnel?
Trying to spread what the Navy's looking for, and what we're looking for is what the nation's brightest young individuals, and look for those tough guys and girls with a lot of grit and motocross. Like, y'all got it.
I was going to say, Johnny, I think you hit the nail on the head. Toughness, grit, this is the right location for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these riders are obviously, we can see we got some young potential future Navy recruits here doing the pull-ups. You guys giving away some swag, educating some of the youth riders and younger folks here about what a potential career or future in the Navy might look like. And yeah, I mean, you're not going to find a tougher group than coming out here. I mean, they throw themselves into these conditions willingly, not by choice or not by accident. And I can see you guys got some contests going on here. What's the record for pull-ups there on that pull-up bar?
I actually just had a kid just a minute ago. He knocked out like 17, and he was like maybe 6, 7 years old.
Look at that, man. So we got some tough young youth riders here in GNCC. There we see some of our tough XC1 riders working their way through. James, we appreciate you coming in with us. Is this your first experience with off-road racing to come out and join us this weekend?
Yes, it is.
What do you think? Are we going to get you on a quad and get you out to check this out at one of these future events? At least get a lap around it to see what it's all about.
I mean, sure. If y'all got me a quad, I'll try it out.
That's the Navy talking right there. If you do it, I'll go for it. Absolutely. I love it. Well, it's been a ton of fun. Now, for folks that are maybe interested in taking that step with the U.S. Navy, where do they go to reach out? How do they go about finding a recruiter and getting involved?
So the easiest way is you just go to Navy.com. You'll be able to look on there, find out some more information, put in your local area, like your information, and it'll tell you where your local recruiter is. And like a lot of times they'll get that information and contact you, or you can be able to reach out to them. And from there, it's just getting in touch with them, and they'll get you into the office, find out what you're looking for, and how the Navy can help you out with that.
There you go. They want you in the Navy. I love it. Well, James, thank you for your service. Thank you for hanging out with us, and get back to enjoying some GNCC racing.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess.
All right, so there it is. James from the U.S. Navy hanging out with us here all weekend long. Make sure if you guys are here on site, you stop by. 17 might be the record to beat. I'm not beating that record, Johnny. You know, shoulders aren't quite like what they used to be.
Zach, I heard you had 21 pull-ups in you.
Yeah, you heard wrong. There you go, hearing things again. Yep, perfect. Not a chance. As right now we have got our top riders going at it. You can see some of these rocks absolutely rolling around. This is what we've talked about before. We've got some rocks you can hit them as hard as you want. They're not moving at all. And then some of them, you just look at them hard enough and it seems like they'll roll across the track. But just like you guys talked about, track changing ever so slightly, but not a night and day difference. But like we've talked about before, a lot of speculating from here in the GNCC booth. Why don't we talk to somebody that's been there and done that? We'll bring in our WXC winner here from earlier today, a familiar face here in Racer TV Truck. Now, Chloe Harper back with us. Chloe, congratulations on yet another win here in the 2026 season. Take us through your thoughts on how the Old Gray went.
It honestly went really well. Looking at the track yesterday, I wasn't too confident going into it, and with everything that happened at Kentucky, I wasn't really confident. So going into it, we were just hoping for a good start, and I got the whole shot and just led from there and just picked good lines and try to make smart lapper passes and just hope for the best, and we ended up with a win.
I feel like this is the second time you said I wasn't feeling that great coming into it, and then it was like the green flag flies, and it's just a totally different story. Talk about getting that start. We almost beat it to death in the sense of how important it is, but being able to manage a race from the front takes such a stress off of your shoulders right off the bat.
Yeah, of course, and to know that I can do it now, I've done 2 in a row, and whole shots is not my forte. I'm usually one that can come through the pack and come from the back. So starting a race in a good position and having the front lead and the pace be my pace is just a good feeling to know in going into the race for the 2-hour span.
Now, as far as comparing this to Kentucky just a few weeks ago, Rocky, a very consistent theme that we've had between those 2 rounds, but a lot of differences as well. If you had to pick one, which one are we leaning more towards?
Oh, I liked Kentucky a lot. I like the dust, fast pace, high intense racing. That's me. It's what I grew up in. It's what I enjoy.
Well, no doubt about it. Doesn't seem to matter what we throw at her. She's still coming out swinging and coming out on top here for round number 6.
And Chloe, what do you think, obviously this being the 3rd year, I know they've made some changes this year. It seemed like it tightened the track up a little bit. Did you prefer this layout this year? Or did you like the last, obviously you won on all 3, but which is your favorite of the 3 layouts so far?
Last year was my favorite. It had some tight technical, but it also had the high pace and the good rock sections that went in leading into the tougher rock sections, and it had a lot of passer and lapper lines.
Well, that's definitely a unique perspective. We appreciate you giving us that. You're welcome to stick around with us here, watch some more racing action on Racer TV. Who are you rooting for today? Who's going to get the job done in XC1?
Oh, I am a Wyatt Wilken, Jay Shadron fan. They are northern people, but I also have to root for Bryson Neal. I'm a huge Bryson Neal fan, but I'm hoping for an underdog like Wyatt Wilken and Jay Shadron to come through.
There you go. So you got Bryson Neal, Wyatt Wilken leading the way, Bryson Neal in that number 3 spot. It looks like they're starting to get away from Jay Shadron, but we just had that nice feature on him talking about his grit and how tough he is and willing to overcome things. So still just a few seconds back, very much in the mix. And again, we appreciate you joining us in the booth. We'll let you get out and watch some of that race track side. I know it's not quite the same from the booth here. For the folks at home, it's a great view, but when you're here at the race, you can get out in the woods and actually get the dust flying at you and the smell of the race fuel.
Yeah, I love it. Watching the pros to know how they take lines is just a good feeling, because you can change how you ride and take what they use and hopefully use it for how you race too. So I appreciate being here. Thank you guys.
There it is. That is our WXC winner from earlier today, Chloe Harper, hanging out with us here in the Racer TV truck, starting to become a regular visitor over here, as she has had quite the 2026 season, and looks like she's going to head back out and go cheer on our current XC1 leader, Wyatt Wilken. Really looking strong right now as Hunter Hart and Bryson Neal in tow. I'm telling you what, they may have just pulled out on Shadron a little bit, Johnny, but he's not giving up. He's not even in, I don't think, no man's land quite yet. He's still catching the tail end of that dust in some spots. The headlights shine on. He is moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen him kind of look like he's lost the pace, fall off a little bit, and then the very next camera shot, he's back up in the mix, just a few bike lengths off of our podium positions there with Wilkin, Hart, and Neal in the number 1, 2, and 3 spots. So I think it's interesting to see Shadron maybe struggling a little bit, just to speculate here, because we love to do that on Racer TV. Maybe a little bit of arm pump or just a certain level of discomfort, and he's riding through that and able to keep touch with the leaders, so that bodes well for his chances later in the race.
It's one of my favorite things talking to these riders is how many things that we've heard. You know, on the motocross side, things arm pump, it's almost a race ender, right? All of a sudden, you get that bad enough, and I'm done for the 30 minutes.
You're done, for
but
sure.
But at the same time, here at GNCC, it's like, yeah, I had it for an hour or so, and then it went away, and I got right back to racing. It's so impressive the way these riders, it's a true endurance sport as much as it is action in motorsports, because they have such an amount of time to deal with stuff where it's not a matter of if something cramps, it's when, it's what, and how long it lasts.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you never know, you know your body, right? But you think you know your limits, but you never know exactly when that's going to come into play. You know, it's like you can think, you know, there's guys that, you know, get pumped up right off the start. You know, you're just going 110% right off the start. Well, there's guys that are good, and maybe they get pumped up, you know, later in the race, you know, kind of get a little stressed out or whatever. You know, regular old Joes, you know, like me, hey, some of those guys, I can tell you, like, I can ride around all day long and not get pumped up. But as soon as, like, you throw a flag, it, you know, just changes.
When it gets real.
It totally changes. And it's like as soon as you see, like, that white flag, same thing. You know, you're kind of trying to find that little bit extra when you're running out.
Well, you know, you talk about that, and there was a former XC1 rider, Chris Bach, who was a top bike XC1 rider for many years. It's one of those things where you can absolutely kill it at the test track. You can kill it at the local races. But back in the day, he used to say Rodney Tomlin, but in this case, it'd be Zach Herron and Jackson Burrell on the PA system, and some repeater banners will jam a fella up. You know, it's just that feeling of the big show. You come in. Yes, these guys have done it for years. Wyatt Wilkin, the rest, you know, they've got it figured out, but there's definitely an extra level of intensity when you come here to GNCC, and intensity is what Bryce and Neal is bringing to the table here today. But out front and starting to open up just the smallest of gaps is Wyatt Wilkin. Wyatt's really been charging hard the last couple of years. A disappointing performance for him by his standards, coming into 2025 with the number 3 and then dropping back to the number 5 spot. But he's really seen a resurgence this year that has him sitting in that number 2 spot in points, and arguably the closest challenger to Bryce and Neal right now. And I believe we had a chance to catch up with Wyatt about some of that and his thoughts on things coming into today.
It's crazy to think that we're 5 rounds like into this. It seems like the first 3, 4, 5 just roll by. Summer break makes it kind of extended, but no, it's been what we wanted. Man, we were shooting for podiums every single race, and 4 of the 5 times we've been on the podium, and no, it's been going good. I'm excited just to keep chugging along, man. Like, Bryson set himself up. He's won every single one of them, and I want to take him down, man. I'm trying, but it's just learning, and I'm happy where I'm at. I'm not frustrated. I'm doing everything right. It's just timing, and I don't know. I'm enjoying myself.
As always, a big smile there on Wyatt Wilkin's face is, man, things are really kicking off just as hot as we expected. Wyatt Wilkin, Hunter Hart, and Jay Shadron were your top 3 early on, and then the Bidwell Bullet starts to creep forward like we've seen him do now. We were a few weeks ago kind of a little stressed out at this point, but I think now we know, hey, Bryson Neal's not stressing. We don't need to stress here either. He's moved into that 3rd place spot, and man, you couldn't ask for better action for the folks at home on Racer TV. Your top 3 all in the same camera shot at the same time. Wyatt Wilkin, Hunter Hart, and Bryson Neal. The table for 3 is set. Who's going to come out on top? Could this be the day we see the perfect streak come to an end? We're going to find out when we come back. A quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more specialized old grade GNCC racing.
Don't let waiting in line for service sideline your machine. Eliminate the wait and save money by doing it yourself. AMSOIL makes it simple with oil change kits that include exactly what you need in one convenient package. Choosing the right kit is also simple. Just plug your ride into the Shop by Vehicle tool at AMSOIL.com and have your kit delivered right to your door. Get the protection you demand and the performance you deserve. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality
with Kenda Tires, delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda Tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Specialized Old Gray GNCC. A little bit of history here for you. This is something even interesting to us here in the booth. Just down the road out in Monterey, Tennessee, right next to it, you have that stone is the Old Gray Stone, and that's a lot of history behind that as far as there was this giant kind of tower, this monument built. It was from an unknown origin, and when the railroads and oil companies started to make their way through, it ended up being brought down, but that stone was the only thing that remained, and so kind of a central figure around the town here of Monterey, Tennessee, and obviously has transformed now, and the Old Gray continuing to be a legend here in the area with now the Old Gray GNCC. But really cool to kind of make your way down through Monterey, Tennessee, stop over at the Grind Coffee, and take around some of the local history.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of picturesque views here in Tennessee. You know, you can hike your way to some tops of ridges and look out over the valleys. But that Old Gray, actually hearing that story yesterday from our director, Don Hampton, talking about they believe, I think there's some local lore involved, but they believe it was some type of a monument from back in times thousands of years ago. And like you said, when settlers kind of worked their way to this region in Tennessee, they didn't understand what it was. And in typical, kind of progression, pushed their way through of that time, they blew it up. They decided, we don't need that, we don't know what it is, we don't know what it means. But someone realizing potentially historical significance salvaged the largest chunk of that stone and is on display downtown Monterey, referencing the Old Gray. So a lot of history here, just showing how long this crazy large ball of gas that we're on has been around. Times that so long, when history doesn't show us what it is, when in doubt, blow it up. I love it. It's the American way. So we've got quite a blow-up going on at the front here with the battle out front, as it is still Wyatt Wilkin leading the way, Hunter Hart in the number 2 spot. And as we saw here at the number 7 mile marker, I don't know about you guys, but I thought I saw a thought we had already seen a locked-in or racy Bryson Neal, but now he has stepped it up even more. We saw him taking alternate lines, trying to make the move on Hunter Hart, and he's looking like he really wants to get to the front of this pack now. Now we see John Galata Jr. coming through in the number 6 spot. Did already see Harrell come through there 5th. Looks like Josh Merritt has worked his way around Brandon Owens. And guys, I want to give a shout out here to Brian Wolf in the number 13 spot overall. Guys, I don't have enough time to tell this story, but that is the father of Jeremiah Wolf, who's leading that same class in the XC2 class. Brian Wolf, a former multi-time winner here overall in GNCC, having won Snowshoe twice and several other GNCCs. And the reason I reference Snowshoe, rocky, technical, that was always Brian Wolf's jam. He was known as a sender. He didn't worry about picking smooth lines. He went point A to point B, wide open, bounced off everything, including other riders, trees, rocks, whatever it took, but many times getting the job done for an overall victory here in GNCC. We saw Brian step away from the sport. His kids got into it, his daughter Ava and his son Jeremiah as youth riders. He didn't ride for years, and I don't think Brian would be upset when I say this. He got pretty big. He got himself out of shape, was a mini dad, wrenching. In the last couple of years, he's shown some interest in racing, and I heard he was going to run some XC2 races. And not only is he racing, he's currently in a podium position in XC2 and 13th overall. So he's been out there several times already this season, but this is the first time we've seen him running like this. And keep an eye on that 404 of B. Wolf there. Again, Jeremiah Wolf leading the way, and Brian Wolf sitting in third. Could this be the first ever father-son podium in an XC2 class in GNCC? We're staring down the barrel of it possibly here today. Things mixing up in the pits. We see Wilkin in and out. Look at that. Shadron able to get back around Bryson Neal. Don't know if Shadron pitted, but I would assume that he did. And if so, he is back into a podium position. He would have pitted here on this end, so before Bryson Neal. So at least for now, for the time being, he has taken away that number, taken back that number 3 spot. So just when we see Bryson Neal on the charge, Jay Shadron fires back. He's back in a podium spot and in sight. Look at that, right there in our camera shot. A masterful pit from the Shadron team, getting him back up into the number 3 spot, and Bryson Neal has to go back to work to try to get back around.
Here we go. Did just get word from race control, a 5-lap race in store with 2 laps complete. So the game is on. We know how long we've got. Now it's just time to fight it out till the bitter end. 1, 2, 3, and 4, all wheel to wheel. I want to know what kind of smack talk Jeremiah was saying though to get his dad so fired up, because that's going to be a cool podium. Like you said, as far as I know, that's got to be the first father-son duo on the podium.
To my knowledge, in a class at that level, an elite level class, that would be the first time that has ever happened. Jared, you're the resident historian.
Yeah, I can't tell you of anybody that would even be able to do that. Anytime you have a father-son in the past, it's usually been, a father racing, passing it down to a son later, racing in a totally separate era. So this is, definitely going to be a first.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's still got to hang on to it, and I will say, Brian Wolf, again, a sender, so he was not even in the top 5 of that class with 1 lap complete. Now, keep in mind, this running order is with 2 laps complete. Now our leaders have just completed 3 laps, so we'll see how that XC2 class shakes out when they come through. Has Brian Wolf continued the charge? Because looking at lap times, he was a 24:33, which is, let's see here, about 30... He was about 38 seconds faster than Braxton Gross, who's sitting in that number 4 spot. So not only is he in the number 3 spot, he's come from outside the top 5, maybe even outside the top 10 to get to that position. And sitting in the number 3 spot, he is only, he is 1 minute and 32 seconds behind Lane McCormick in the number 2 spot. So he's got some time to make up, but if he's running 30 seconds a lap faster, it's not impossible. And I mentioned the fact that he had gained some weight. Well, Brian reasserted himself and said, hey, I need to get back in shape just to be healthy for myself, for my kids, and he's been training. He's changed his eating completely, dropped a bunch of weight, been riding a bunch, and we're seeing that here today because fitness on this track definitely will come into play. Just how strong is Brian Wolf? One thing I can tell you for sure, even if these kids are more fit, there is not a stronger rider in that XC2 class mentally than Brian Wolf. He's already won these races overall, so experience will kick in, and he'll keep digging deep. We'll see how it all shakes out as this one continues.
Interesting, when you mentioned him winning Snowshoe, he actually did that from the XC2
From the XC2 class. Twice. Yes,
yep.
2 times from the XC2 class. He won that overall. And back in the days when it was a $10,000 payout to win that race. So he collected $20,000 in 2 years winning Snowshoe back-to-back, was leading it a few other times. There we see, that is our second-place rider in XC2, Lane McCormick. We see Hannah Hunter, today's second-place finisher in that WXC class, dumping some water down his back. They are from the same area of Pennsylvania and good friends for many, many years. The pace has been ratcheted up at the front, folks. This is an all-out sprint.
Man, that was absolutely incredible. Flying was Bryson Neal around the outside, doing a great job of taking whatever line Jay Shadron does not. He wanted a sense of urgency to get around Hunter hard. Now he's trying to get back to that same position. As things getting interesting here just past the halfway point. 5-lap race, we're being told there from race control. look at the gap that they've opened up now at this point. Like we said, and this is, Jared, almost exactly what we saw a few weeks ago, that top group, it just seemed like, okay, they're going as fast as they possibly can. Wait a second, they found another gear.
Yeah, and it is so impressive to me that you think you couldn't possibly go any faster than that, and then they bring that next level up seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, it's just all of a sudden you can't physically click another gear. You're not physically clicking another gear, but you know, it's these guys are absolutely incredible.
Well, the other thing too is there becomes a sense of comfort and familiarity with the track and the conditions, and you just kind of figure out which lines are working. One thing I want to point out with Jay Shadron there, we did not see him hit that lap. That doesn't mean he didn't, but looking at the race clock time and knowing the range of these machines on fuel, I have to believe he was either on an alternate strategy and pitted at the completion of lap number 2 and we didn't see that, or he pitted and just had a fast enough pit stop, because Bryce Neal didn't look to have a bad pit stop. It wasn't the quickest, but you know, Jay Shadron wasn't right on his rear wheels coming into the pits, and he cleanly made that pass. So to me, it is possible that Shadron may have actually pitted at the completion of lap number 2. Here we see Adam McGill speaking with his wife Haley there in the pits. Not a huge sense of urgency from him there. Running back looks like McGill back in the number 11 spot overall. Josh Merritt has now checked in. There's Braxton Gross, so that gives you an idea of how far he is behind in that XC2 class. We saw McCormick, when they had checked in, they should have now checked in with 3 laps complete, and they have. Jeremiah Wolf still leading the way with a 10.4 second lead over Lane McCormick. We are still waiting for Brian Wolf and also Braxton Gross, who we just saw on screen, to check in. Still waiting on McGill, still waiting on Borge to check in as well. Merritt has now checked in that number 10 spot overall and 8th in XC1. He has lost some time. He is now 42 seconds behind John Glauda Jr., who had seen them battling, so something going awry there for Merritt. And we continue to watch this rock section. Man, I'm really excited to see the number 404 of Brian Wolf. Likely won't even have graphics, and if he does, they won't match. I can tell you that right now. His gear probably doesn't match. Maybe he has one brand jersey. He puts all of his effort and time into Jeremiah's program, and he's just out here having some fun. But right now, at least through 2 laps complete, in a podium position in that XC2 class.
Man, I tell you what, guys, you could hear the machine of Wyatt Wilkin bouncing off the rev limiters. He was behind that lap rider in a very tight section. We talk about it's not often just if you run into him, but when and where in the racetrack. That definitely held Wyatt up just a little bit. So Hart, Shadron, and Neal right back to the rear grab bar of your leader. Meanwhile, it looked like Stephen Harrell starting to chip away in that gap, catching up to Brandon Owens.
Yeah, Harrell sitting only 13 seconds behind Owens, who's now 58 seconds behind Bryson Neal. So we've seen Owens kind of seesawing off the back of that top 4, and there is Glauda right there, sitting, again, about 57 seconds behind Harrell when they checked in with 3 laps complete just 1 mile ago. So Glauda put in a good charge there, but it seems to have stalled out at least for now.
So watching and waiting, Josh Merritt expected to be the next XC1 rider, and then we'll see where that battle at the front of the XC2 class is as well, with the Wolves and Lane McCormick. See whether or not we can complete the father-son duo up on the podium.
There is Harrell coming through in that number 6 spot. For a minute, I thought he had gotten around Shadron, but that's a copycat Shadron there. That is one of our lap riders also running those headlights. There is Merritt running in the number 8 spot in XC1 and 10th place overall, looking like he is laboring a bit through that section. And look at this now, Jeremiah Wolf and Lane McCormick, the XC2 leaders, have caught Josh Merritt. So that is the battle for lead you were just witnessing on screen. Jeremiah Wolf leading the way in that XC2 class. A rider that was talked about a lot coming into the season. Hasn't quite had, he's had some good performances, but hasn't had the standout performances that maybe many were expecting of him coming into 2026. So maybe a little extra motivation knowing that Dad's back there chasing him down, and he is riding out of his shoes today, leading the way just ahead of Lane McCormick, who's trying to fire back in that championship points battle. And Jeremiah Wolf in the mix as well for that XC2 championship, along with Lane McCormick and Braxton Gross as the point stand right now.
Yeah, you know, you never want to get beat by your dad. I used to get beat by my dad all the time. And, you know, not until I was, you know, I think it took me until I was probably like 20 to really get an edge on him. So, you know, that's a little motivation there for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure if your dad, you know, when your son's coming up, it's a proud moment when he's finally able to make that pass and get you for the day. But at the same moment, I have some stories I can't share of my dad and his friends when I started beating them. I was quite a bit younger, but they were not pleased. There was a lot of expletives that were thrown around when I would pass them coming from the back, even on a youth machine. They were not super pumped on it, but in their own way, they're proud. And I'm sure Brian Wolf, he's definitely a competitor, and you don't go out there and run near the front of the XC2 class without having that competitive fire. But to some degree, you got to believe he's also wondering, how's Jeremiah doing? He doesn't know. At this point, he couldn't possibly know that Jeremiah's leading the way in that class. But if he knows he hasn't passed him, he says, well, hey, if I'm third, Jerry's got to be up the road there somewhere in front of me, so he's doing pretty well today, and the kid's doing real well leading that XC2 class.
Hang on a second. The gap opened up a little bit. I thought we may have had a shakeup as 1, 2, 3, and Bryson Neal looks like maybe going back, trying to recalculate a way back around Jay Shadron, and Shadron's now the one putting heavy pressure on Hunter Hart.
Well, I had an opportunity to speak with Bryson on the starting line during the morning race. He was getting ready to go out and check out a few sections of track. And, Jared, to your point, you said the quad guy's always saying there are no passing. Bryson said exactly that about this track. He said absolutely no passing opportunities. He said it's going to come down to a hole shot, and I know I need to get a good start, and if I don't, I have a few spots picked out where I don't think others are going to see lines. He said, but it's a very, very one-line track, and we're seeing that here today with the top 4 kind of running in formation. Bryson's been able to make some passes, but right now it's been Wilkin, Hart, Shadron, Bryson, and Bryson made one pass so far, and then when he lost that spot in the pits, he's right back, and you can almost sense the frustration under the helmet right now, feeling he has more pace, but just not able to make those passes.
I feel like he's still got that poker hand up his sleeve, though. I mean, we can talk about that till we're blue in the face.
We had started to write him off 2 weeks, not write him off, but think, okay, he's just going to settle for a podium. And then when the chips were down, back to another poker reference, he was able to pull it out. And he may have a few lines in his back pocket. We'll wait and we'll see. And we know he's a rider that's not going to crack under the pressure. He's going to continue to ride his race, push his pace, and try to force the other riders into mistakes. But I got to say, Wilkin and Hart and even Shadron looking very, very comfortable. They're hitting their marks, and they are not going to make it easy on Bryson Neal today. That is very clear.
Well, and we talked about, the elevation of the game. Bryson Neal arguably at the tip of the spear at this point. He's as sharp as you could almost argue he gets. And we've seen the speed, we've seen the intensity, but we're also now starting to see Shadron, Hart, and Wilkin not near as affected as, getting some word here. We take a look at the beautiful Tennessee skyline. Some weather on the way as well. We had Jackson Burrell outside. I thought he was just breaking down to DJ Judd, but I think he was doing a rain dance as it's starting to sprinkle just a little bit. We'll see how much it actually affects the race, but Chief Meteorologist there, Jackson Burrell, keeping us informed, OPAG with that sky shot. But wouldn't that be something interesting? We also saw weather late a few weeks ago, and I know Wyatt Wilkins said he was hoping it absolutely downpoured. But back to my point, I think we're not seeing Shadron, Hart, and Wilkin shaken by Bryson Neal quite as much as they used to be.
Well, I want to speak a little bit about Jay Shadron, because to see, again, we've given him a lot of love on this program, and deservedly so, but to see him rebound from seemingly kind of getting passed by Bryson, falling off the back of that group, to now back not only in the mix, but really fighting in the mix. He's not just hanging on. He's right on the rear wheels of Hunter Hart. He's looking like the one that's maybe the most aggressive in the group right now. And to me, that is just so impressive, lending itself, Jared, like we talked about before, potentially arm pump or just kind of tightening up, something going on there that made him feel uncomfortable, and suddenly he's found that comfort. He's found that speed, and now he seems to be the rider pushing the pace. We saw that interview from him talking one last thing he'd like to do in his career. Not that he's almost done by any means, but kind of the last box to check is that overall win. Surely in a great position to have a chance at it here today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a pretty good chance at it right here. I mean, that guy is just darn impressive. And we talked a little bit earlier, about how he had left and come back. And, that was actually the best thing he's ever done.
Well, and how often do we hear that as well, kind of taking that refresh break, re-falling in love with the sport, right? Sometimes the burnout it's real. It's a real thing, and so many of these riders, like we've talked about, have grown up in this sport. It's been eat, sleep, and breathe GNCC racing as long as they can remember, and they almost step away and say, wait a second, I love that too. Also, I forget that was a huge part of my life, and it's when they come back, that new sense of motivation and drive pushes them further than maybe they would have ever reached had they not stepped away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like anything else. When you love something, they say like when you love something, you let it go. Well, you can only let it go for so long when it comes to racing. You're always going to come back, and you see that even in amateur racers. You'll see somebody come in as an amateur racer and just hammer it out for years and years and years, and then maybe they say, we're going to do something else for a little bit. But you know what? 9 times out of 10 they come back. It may not be as hot and heavy as they once were, but they always come back.
Well, I think the thing with GNCC, or I'm sure any type of competition or racing, whatever it may be, they say it gets in your blood. You miss that feeling. And, you know, many times throughout my career, people would say, you know, if you stop now, you're going to want to come back. And then I've been asked the question many, many times since I retired at the end of 2022, are you ready to come back yet? I can tell you from experience, when you do it for 40 years uninterrupted, 28 as a professional, and you step away, I'm still enjoying the break. I'm not ready to come back. I do still enjoy riding. But speaking of stepping away and coming back, Brandon Owens stepped away from that lead group, but now he's on the charge. He's gotten back around Stephen Harrell. At one point, he was back just in front of John Glauda Jr. Now he's actually opened up a gap over Stephen Harrell back into that number 5 spot. So back into the top 5 and on a charge. And looking at lap times, he is definitely on the move. He was actually the fastest rider. Oh, I'm sorry. Jay Shadron was the fastest rider on track with a 23:23, but Brandon Owens, the second fastest rider on track with a 23:31, which was 1 second faster than our leader Wyatt Wilkin and 2 seconds faster than Hunter Hart. So yeah, just goes to show these guys, you know, these guys up front look like they're going as fast as they can go, and somehow Brandon Owens is finding a little more speed.
Man, and talking about lap times, taking a look at the Progressive last lap times, 23:32, almost identical lap times for 1 and 2 with Shadron at 23:23. And then B. Neal, like I said, I think he's hitting the reset button. He's taking a breath, taking a gather, maybe grabbing some hydration, and then we're going to see, once again, another big charge from the number 1. Kind of similar to what we saw just a few weeks ago, getting down to crunch time. If he's going to make it happen, he needs to get working.
Well, and devil's advocate here, you know, I spoke about this, we all kind of did 2 weeks ago in Kentucky. With Bryson Neal, you know, he seemed like he was just going to settle into a pace at Kentucky 2 weeks ago and take what the track and the race would give him. And we see so much of that on Sunday with Ben Kelly, for instance. When he's not comfortable or the race isn't going his way, he's so good at saying, okay, we're not going to throw away points today. We're going to take our 3rd, 5th, whatever it may be on the day. And Bryson Neal, it's not giving up. Sometimes it's taking the fight further on down the road. He has a commanding points lead right now with a perfect 5 for 5 to start the season. He already, if I'm not mistaken, he already has more than a 1 race lead, so 40 points.
40 points, yep.
So he has a 1 race plus 10 points lead. He can afford to, he's not going to give up, but if he needs to settle in even to 4th today, it's really not a disaster in the championship. He's still going to leave here with a huge points lead. So he's such a smart rider. On a track like this today, if you take those extra chances, it is easy to tear up a machine and potentially, we've seen that from Bryson Neal in his pre-championship era. You know, okay, this is the guy. He's going to dethrone Walker Fowler. He'd come by with 3 wheels on the machine because he knocked one off, or, you know, fly off the track or whatever it may be, break the machine, break himself. And I think we see a much smarter, more mature Bryson Neal these days. Is he going to go for the win? Sure. We still got a lap and 3/4 left. He's going to throw everything he has at it, but he's not going to force it. He's going to take what the race will give him and go from there.
Well, and on the flip side of things, you talk about that early Bryson Neal that we've talked about. I think that's a situation where now we're starting to see somebody like a Brandon Owens, right? I'm just taking a look at our points. He's sitting 8th in points right now, but a 6 and 6 our last 2 rounds, a 3 and a 4, but it's that one DNF, right? That one that got away at round number 2 that's really kind of held him back in points. But Brandon has spoken about, I know I've got what it takes, but I'm also still learning. I'm right at the edge of what my ability is right now. And we were able to catch up with the number 15, talk a little bit about the learning process of reaching the top level of the sport.
Yeah, my biggest thing, I'd say, is just being able to stay calm under pressure and not getting too worked up over the little things. Like I used to get super just worked up over stuff like happening out of my control, and just learning to kind of take it with a grain of salt and move on.
Well, there you go. He's got the pen, the paper out, and he is taking notes, and he's sitting in front of the class right now as your top riders all going to battle here at the front of the XC1 field.
Well, you know, Zach, we talk about Brandon Owens kind of riding into himself maturing. And he's definitely done that here today. And it just goes to show this kid showed so much speed young, but it was all those big mistakes. And now it seems like he's able to rebound from those quicker than ever.
Well, as we got back from earlier on, we had the battle raging on. We saw Shadron back in the 4th place spot, but as always, the pit stops making things interesting. Shadron regaining that number 3 spot. There is your leader, Wyatt Wilkin, a clean in and out, getting some words there from Levi Cohen, grabbing a quick shot for the social media, and now he is off trying to take it to the center of the podium. Hunter Hart Bryson Neal, and there is the headlights of Jay Shadron. 1, 2, 3, and 4, all wheel to wheel to wheel to wheel. It's going to come down to the nitty-gritty, no doubt about it. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have more specialized old gray GNCC racing right here on Racer TV.
Hey race fans! Gear Bicycles is on hand today with the all-new Gen 4 Specialized Levo. They also have great deals on Gen 3 Levos and used bikes. Stop by their booth and see for yourself how fun it can be riding around these GNCC hills. Gear Bicycles is sponsored by Progressive. When you stop by their booth, you can find out why it's important to insure your e-bike, dirt bike, ATV, or RV. Once again, thanks for being here today, and enjoy your day.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 laps, the main event, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that, because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Racer TV, and welcome back to round 6, the Specialized Old Gray GNCC. Getting a look there at beautiful Monterey, Tennessee. Truly one of those beautiful southern small towns, man. Absolutely got a little bit of everything, but not too much of anything. And I tell you what, we've got plenty of right now is action on the course. There was 1, 2, and 3, and it looks like Bryson Neal has remade the pass on Jay Shadron. And I feel like just a lap ago we had that exact camera shot. They were all right there, bar to bar to bar. Wyatt Wilkin, Hunter Hart, and Bryson Neal going at it.
Got a little deja vu there.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
Literally,
That was
I literally
identical.
thought we were replaying the clip from earlier.
Incredible. We welcome Jackson Burrow back here into the booth. Been spotting some things out. Even saw doing a little meteorology. Had a little bit of sprinkles. Doesn't look like it was sticking around.
No, it doesn't. We saw some black clouds come overhead. That's happened twice since this race started, where we saw some very, very dark clouds, but not going to be the case here today. It is going to continue to be a dry one. Mother Nature on our side, I guess you could say, at least if you like this dry kind of conditions like this. We've had not one but 2 good races here in GNCC, which has been rare the past few years. So love to see it. Love to see this Yamaha Racing live drone high in the sky. Could this be the lap that Bryson Neal puts some pressure on those guys and gets himself up farther into our podium? Now in a podium spot, can he knock off Hunter Hart and that man right there, Wyatt Wilkin?
It's certainly possible, and the only reason I'm not jumping to that conclusion is because we've seen the lessons that these riders have learned. When you're Wyatt Wilkin, when you're Hunter Hart, they're not just fast, they're intelligent, right? They've continued to learn, just like we talked to Brandon Owens about right before we went to break. They know, hey, I know Bryson Neal. He's probably got some tricks up his sleeves, probably got some lines picked out, and you can see this yo-yoing back and forth of less than a bike length between them, 3 or 4 bike lengths between them at certain times. They make their way through the pits, getting some words of encouragement. I didn't see whether anybody grabbed any hydration right there as well. And still, Jay Shadron not out of this thing at all in that number 4 spot. How many times do we talk about it in our WXC and 4x4 Pro classes, Jackson, where those top riders all pushing the limit to the absolute edge? Sometimes they go over the edge and wind up either going down or leaving the race early due to a mechanical issue. But these guys, as locked in as it gets, here we go, the battle's on.
Yeah, it sure is. Bryson Neal shaking the head up and down. He saw some of his pit crew there, and that's a sign to me that Bryson Neal is feeling good here in this one. Jay Shadron now passing by with those headlights shining bright. But Zach, you're exactly right. This has been a yo-yo the whole time. Sometimes the yo-yo has gotten pretty long for Bryson Neal. He's been pretty far back, but always able to get himself right back up into the mix.
No doubt about it. It looked like that might have been team owner there with the Phoenix Racing Yamaha crew, David Eller. I know David always taking a little different approach with some of the pit board messages that he gives Bryson. Tries to keep it a little more lighthearted, a little less serious, not just information, but try to things to keep the spirits up, right? As we see, was that a white flag in the hands of Ricky Towery?
White flag, yep.
So here we go, off and rolling. 4 laps complete, the final lap of racing underway. Wyatt Wilkin trying to hang on to it, and man, I'm telling you what, this would be incredible to see somebody snatch the perfect season away, and you know, whether it be Wilkin or Hart, the emotion's going to be at an all-time high.
Yeah, they sure are. I'm not sure if you guys saw that there in that camera shot. One rider coming up on 2 wheels. Not sure if that was one of our lead group. Looked like to me it was Neal, but possibly a lap rider in between them there as we pan back now to Ricky Towery waving that white flag. Here's the question, guys. Wyatt Wilkin, he's been in control of this since the start, seeing him pass by just now, and look at that, Bryson Neal has yo-yo back.
You're right, that was Bryson up on 2 wheels there. Just a little bit of a mistake. It didn't cost him too much, but that definitely hurt just a smidge.
Yeah, it sure did. It's lost him a few bike lengths, but still able to stay ahead of Jay Shadron as of right now going into this final lap. And Wyatt Wilkin, like I was saying, he's led the majority of this race here. He just has to have one more lap around this old gray course, and he'll be on his way to a big win, the middle of the podium. That's what he's been looking for so long, guys. I can't imagine the emotions for either one of these guys to stand at the top of the podium, especially after 5 for 5 for Bryson Neal.
Man, and once again, an uncharacteristic mistake from the number 1 of Bryson Neal. Got to wonder whether maybe something a little tweaked up with the machine, or we've seen this even earlier today. Cody Collier, that final lap. Jackson, I saw him, it wasn't slideways, it was full sideways, up on 2 wheels, pushing as hard as he could. Sometimes that sense of urgency almost makes you override the machine. I think Bryson Neal knows he's got a true fight on his hands. These positions aren't just going to fall into his lap.
Yeah, and you see, he kind of slid into that corner too. I mean, I don't wonder, looking at the corners there, I wonder if he's not got something going on with his brakes or just something simple like that. You know, that really begins to mess with you right here, especially when you're trying to catch the lead pack like this.
Look at this.
It all looks good there. So could just be a couple little uncharacteristic like mistakes back to back to back. You know, you don't expect that, but it's very possible.
Entirely possible. As there we see Jay Shadron on screen, the number 4 out of your XC1 class. Don't forget, haven't touched on it quite as much, but certainly Wyatt Wilkin and Hunter Hart, they want to be the one to take down the number 1 of Bryson Neal right now. This isn't just a confidence boost for taking down Bryson, but to show I truly am the next in line. I am the one bringing this title fight to Bryson Neal, and so they're going to give 110% all the way to this checker flag as well.
Yeah, and I think Wilkin and Hart both feel that way, that they are the guy, that they're the guy to beat, and they're the guy that can beat Bryson Neal. So we're going to see, can they do it here today? Hunter Hart looking very racy in those last few camera shots. I think now Hunter Hart's going to start really putting all the pressure he can onto Wyatt Wilkin into these closing stages of this one.
Well, as you were saying earlier, Jared, if you got some cards up your sleeve, some tricks, now it's time to lay it all out on the table. Final lap of racing. Nothing left to hide. So we're going to see these riders get as creative as they can here. If they've got anything they've been saving, now it's the time to do it. Look at this.
And just
right
like
back
that.
to them.
Just like that. So, you know, this kind of goes back like Kenny Rogers said. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And that's exactly what Bryson's doing right now.
Yeah, he sure is. The yo-yo goes out. The yo-yo comes back in, and we are back in. He is back in the fight here in this one as the boys make their way through the rock garden. Those top 3, they're already through, and now seeing Jay Shadron making his way through, making easy work of that section there, Jared.
Yeah, and we've seen this rock garden all race long, and it's really not this. We talked about this a little bit ago. This has not gotten any worse. It's actually holding up really well. You do see there is one rock kind of in the middle there that's loose, but it actually hasn't moved this whole race. It just kind of wiggles around. I actually see Barry Hawk there in the mix, riding around on my motorcycle, probably the fastest my motorcycle's ever been ridden.
Oh, Barry might be the one to move the rock. Who knows?
He could do it.
On the two-wheel side of things. He'll be hitting everything that these four-wheel guys are missing.
Yeah, exactly. And, that kind of comes into play for the motorcycles tomorrow. The way you ride a quad around these tracks is totally different than the way you ride a motorcycle. These rocks tomorrow, these guys attacking it right up the middle. You're going to see the bikes kind of move around a little bit more. They're going to try some different lines. And you see some cool, wheel tap, hard enduro type stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's always a ton of fun. I always think about Howard's Hole, completely different. Not only just the fan turnout down there, but at the same time, the way they approach those sections is, here we go, flashing forward to mile 2, waiting on your leaders, and the absolute dogfight that is this XC1 class. Wyatt Wilkin, Hunter Hart, and Bryson Neal. 1, 2, and 3 on your screen.
Rocketing their way through our FMF PowerPoint. Making easy work of that section as well. Looks like a little bit deceiving there from our camera, but headed down the hill, huh, Jared?
Yeah, that hill is actually fairly steep. And those rocks drop off pretty good. And then, like I said, this is where you head off on that backside of the property. You kind of get out of the rocks a little bit over in there. But that doesn't mean it's easy. There's still some technical terrain back there, even whenever it's not rocky. So that's going to come into play a little bit back there as well. And, you kind of have to wonder, Bryson's really good at scoping these things out. What does he have up his sleeve back there?
Well, we're going to see here soon. Hopefully, we're going to see here soon. As we just saw Stephen Harrell making his way through the rock garden. Pan back there to our mile 1. Stephen Harrell running in that 6th place spot last time he checked in.
Yeah, see Barry Hawk getting it done again. Yeah, making it look easy. Like I said, I never looked like that. Come on.
No one can look like Barry Hawk.
Yeah.
It's just, nobody can do it. So great job from our sweep riders.
It was one of our cameramen actually making his way through. Love to see it. Don't get to catch you guys often here on Racer TV, but every now and again we get a couple shots like that.
Well, see, I usually stay away from the cameras because I don't want to embarrass myself completely.
Spotter Hollywood making his way by as we continue to wait here at mile 2. The FMF PowerPoint for the rest of the crew to make their way through.
Checking in, looks like Lane McCormick has now taken over the number 1 spot out of your XC2 class. So rolling into this round with a chip on the shoulder, showing what he's capable of. There is Brandon Owens now checking in here at the 2-mile mark. Currently 5th place out of your XC1 class. So how about that? Jeremiah and Brian Wolf sitting 2 and 3 out of your XC2 class.
Still holding in there, But like we were talking about a little bit ago, this is a first for GNCC. If both of these guys are able to hold on to that, there's never been a father-son duo on the top of a pro class like that. This is pretty cool.
Well, there was Stephen Harrell making his way by. Glottis should be coming here soon, and then we should be expecting to see McCormick and the 2 Wolf boys making their way here to the FMF PowerPoint.
Won't be long now as well, as the white flag's waving, just an hour and 44 minutes or so into this race. And things are as tight as they were at turn 2 an hour and 43 minutes ago, basically. I mean, seriously, you can throw a blanket over them.
Yeah, and they're still going just as fast as they were at the beginning of this, maybe even faster. It's incredible. You go back, people that don't race, don't follow racing, they don't quite understand what all goes into this. You see people, hear people from time to time go, well, you're just kind of sitting in the seat and you're beating through that. Man, it's really not nearly as easy as it sounds or looks.
Well, and I think the mental side of it, the quick decision making, the intensity of, be at your absolute maximum heart rate, go run as hard as you can, and then go have to make a million super quick decisions that can put you in a hospital or put you on the top step of the podium. Lap after lap, time after time. It's so impressive, the juggling that these riders are doing when to attack, when not to attack, thinking ahead. Not only are they riding in the present moment where they're at on track, they're thinking a mile ahead. Okay, this is my one shot to make a pass happen. How am I going to set it up? It's so impressive to hear the detail in which they're able to not only do that, but then they can talk about it afterwards with absolute clarity. They remember, oh yeah, lap 2, about mile 3 or so, I had this big kick, and you're like, how do you remember that? It is so impressive. Absolute athletes here at the top of the field.
Hey, speaking of absolute athletes, there they are right now on the screen. Our top 3, Wilkin, Hart, and Neal, still flying in formation as we follow along now from the Yamaha Racing Live Drone.
Seems like as the rounds have gone on, the work has gotten harder and harder for Bryson Neal as far as making these wins happen. Came down to the final lap or two, Jackson, just a few weeks ago. Here we are, the final few miles as the white flag is waving, and Bryson Neal still in the number 3 spot. And yes, he is certainly looking for it now. He knows it's go time.
Yeah, the guys have made adjustments. I want to give a shout out to Hart, Wilkin, and Neal. You're talking about how hard it is to beat Bryson Neal, and they've made the adjustments that they need to continue to make it harder and harder on Bryson Neal. Jay Shadron as well, Wilkin, Hart, Shadron, those guys have been doing what it takes, and right now it's showing that that's what's on their mind.
Yeah,
getting ahead of Neal.
And it's just like we talked about earlier. It's the perfect blend of confidence, consistency, whether it's, Wyatt Wilkin, I know, working very closely with Levi Cohen. I believe Hunter Hart's been working with Zach Osborne here as of recently, looking for ways to step up their physical game off the machines, get as prepared as possible, and then the mental side they take just as seriously. And then meanwhile, when you're Bryson Neal, you're sticking to what works, right? When things didn't quite go the way, he's not all of a sudden completely scrapping that and redrawing or remaking the wheel. He's saying, hey, look, I'm a multi-time champ for a reason. I'm undefeated this season so far for a reason. Let's stick to it and trust what's been working.
Yeah, and if you'll think back, Zach, Bryson Neal not getting to train and ride as much as he would like to have during this offseason, as now we see the crew back on Racer TV here. But yeah, Bryson Neal, a new father, and had a lot going on in his personal life, not able to ride. I believe quite the opposite for riders like Wilkin, Hart, Shadron, Owens, Harrell. So we'll see if it comes into play later on throughout this season, as right now we're seeing the number 7 machine of Shadron flashing by there.
Yeah, so your top 4 still relatively close. Shadron just outside of that top 3 fight, but like we said, still close enough to where if one of them, flips over, has a problem like that, Jared, he's going to be there to capitalize. Even if he's not able to make the pass, he'll go right back to putting heavy pressure on the rear of him.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point in the race, all it takes is one little mistake, and like we've talked about all race long, it's so rocky out there. It's so technical. It's really, really easy, as good as these guys are, to still just make that little tiny mistake that just costs you what, a second, half a second. And that's all a guy like Bryson needs. It's all a guy like Hunter needs. This is, we keep talking about Bryson, trying to capitalize, but Hunter's looking to do the same thing.
Yep.
It's one tiny step up by any of these guys is going to drastically change his top 3.
Well, and then you talk about, the position they're in at the moment. Wilkin, he's full defense. He's charging forward, and he's actually got enough of a gap at this point where he's not playing defense, covering specific lines, still able to put that quad where he wants. But Hart, he's stuck in the middle between, I want to take the fast lines, I want to put pressure on Wyatt Wilkin, but does that open the door for Bryson Neal, who we saw just a camera shot or two ago, already starting to show some wheels? He'll start doing a little bumping, a little bit of banging, saying, hey, I'm right here. Don't mess up. Don't mess up. So Hart in a really tough position, full offense, full defense. But what do you do at that point? You're just bouncing back and forth. So a lot of props to Hunter Hart right now. Once again, staying cool under pressure. And then for Neal, I feel like it's relatively simple for him. Figure it out, find a way through.
Figure it out. And I still feel like he's got something up his sleeve. I mean, you saw him try pretty hard there, a minute ago. But when you get on this other side of the property, there's a few more places that, that I'm thinking of that he may still have something up his sleeve. It's not going to be easy by no means, but he still has a shot at this thing.
He doesn't need it to be easy, just possible.
Just possible.
No doubt about it. Let's see, making their way through. There goes Stephen Harrell checking in that 6th place spot out of XC1, just in front of John Glotta Jr.
So that was going to be our XC2 battle. That was on the left side of the screen there, making their way by. So keep your eyes out for McCormick and the 2 Wolf Boys. See if we can catch some glimpses of them as they make their way through here in just a second. Speaking of giving out props, I want to give out some props to you, Jared, and your track crew that you have. Take a look at this. An hour and 49 minutes into this race, we've got just at 10 minutes, going to hit that 2-hour mark just about on the head, as we always do.
Oh, yeah. You know, I could stand here and say that was by design all I want. But, you know, that's a lot of luck goes into that. Now, we do kind of have a formula that we know what's going to get us close, but it's always going to be a little bit different, you know. And you can say all you want, well, these guys are going to turn this kind of lap time and speculate, but it's always, I always have a little room for error there. But, man, you know, it's when it works out that beautiful, you can't help but grin and kind of think that it was by design.
Yeah, we like to say it was. We like to say it was. Either way, you got it done here this week. The crew should be proud of that. And speaking of being proud, Wilkin has to be proud of this ride as he continues to lead the way in the yo-yo. Continuing here for Bryson Neal, going to lose a bike length or two.
You can see the Phoenix Yamaha crew up there trying to pump Bryson Neal up, push him forward. No question, he's given 100% now at this point as we are 5 miles into this final lap. We'll see whether or not anything's able to happen in these closing miles. Jared says he thinks there might be a few spots they can make it happen. Best believe Neal's got some tricks up his sleeve. He's going to throw it all at here on this final lap.
Yeah, this is the point where you just kind of throw everything you got at it and see what sticks.
Continuing to watch here at the 5 mile mark as we're getting down to the final few miles of racing here for our 2-hour pro finale. 1, 2, and 3, wheel to wheel to wheel, as Wyatt Wilkin and Hunter Hart try to be the first riders to dethrone Bryson Neal in 2026. But the Bidwell Bullet still got a few left in the chamber. Can he make something happen here in the closing stages? We're going to find out. Going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back to close out the 2-hour ATV Pro race right here from the Specialized Old Gray GNCC here live on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too. That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer. But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? Don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a man. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
All right, and so last night here, Friday night, after the EMTB race, we had our Specialized Turbo Levo party. It was a pizza party. Can't beat that, with a lot of great prizes given away. Our folks over at Gear Bicycle Sales and Specialized. They did a wheelie contest. This gentleman here with the fist bump. You can see the pizza was flowing. The youngsters and elders alike enjoying that. There was a slow race as well, which basically the slowest you can go without falling over. As soon as you dab a foot, like that gentleman there, you're out. So that one took a while to complete. You can see the spectators came out, and all those spectators were also involved because there was drawings based off some raffle tickets for everything, including a brand new Levo bicycle there. You can see on the right-hand side a youth Levo bicycle, as well as gift certificates, VIP parking for Snowshoe. That's a very valuable thing around these parts. But I think the two big ticket items were those Specialized Levos, both a youth and adult machine, courtesy of Specialized and Gear Bicycle Sales, and the turnout was amazing.
It sure was. It was a big party, but even bigger gifts being handed out, even VIP tickets to the High Point Pro Motocross, a ton of stuff, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars handed out last night from Specialized and Gear Bicycle Sales. A big shout out to them for that. And what better way to kick off round one of our EMTB championship?
I got to tell you, Jackson, I sat there yesterday at the Blue Crew tent. We were giving away umbrellas. Leaders on screen, so let's talk about that. There is your leader, and up now to the number 2 spot. It is the Bidwell Bullet, the big number 1 of Bryson Neal, has worked his way around Hunter Hart, but you can tell by the intensity in this absolute attack position that Hunter Hart has on. He wants that spot back. This is still a 3-rider battle for the lead, but just when we think somebody may have Bryson Neal beat, he is now to the number 2 spot and just a few bike lengths behind Wyatt Wilkin. But here comes Jay Shadron now in the number 4 spot. Still a phenomenal ride for this young man here today, chronicling his departure, return, injury, return, and up again so close to a podium position. You got to believe that Jay, while frustrated maybe a little bit with this one, if he ends up in the number 4 spot, still going to be proud of the effort he's put in. We'll wait and watch for our leaders, and this is it, the final sections of racetrack. What a battle we've seen throughout the entirety of this one. As you pointed out, this one will go near the full 2 hours or right at that 2-hour mark. We're watching from our Yamaha Racing Live drone. Will it still be the big number 5 of Wyatt Wilkin out front leading the way? Has led this one since the drop of the green flag. And as we wait and watch for them, Bryson Neal, starting about mid-pack, has worked his way through, dropped up to the number 3 spot, back to 4th after the pit stops. Now he's gotten around Jay Shadron. He has gotten around Hunter Hart. And he is in the number 2 spot, looking to stay perfect in 2026. But to do that, he's going to have to get around Wyatt Wilkin, and that is not going to be an easy task here in these final miles of racing.
Yeah, you know, I mentioned right there before the break that I felt there's still a couple places on this side of the property that Bryson could get the job done. And obviously he got up to 2nd in that time. But I'm going to be honest with you, from here to the finish, there's not a lot of space to do so. Now, with that said, Bryson's pulled this kind of thing off before, but this is going to be an absolute challenge for him.
Jared, looking at this one from the outside in, I got to believe that this is not Bryson Neal's race to win. It is Wyatt Wilkin's race to lose. He needs to make the mistake. And look at this. Now he's opened up a gap over. And look at this. Now it's Hart back to the number 2 spot. We didn't miss Bryson Neal.
No, we did not.
Nope.
So look at this, a big shakeup. How much time has Bryson Neal lost? Will he fall back? Will we see Jay Shadron pop out of the woods in a podium position? He should be coming any minute. He was just a few seconds behind that lead trio. So now, have we lost Bryson Neal completely? This is a big shakeup here with just less. There it is, Shadron in the number 3 spot. So Bryson Neal, just when we're talking about him potentially getting that lead, now he has fallen back at least to 4th place position. Hopefully, for his sake, he has not damaged that machine to the point where he's not able to get it to the finish line. We'll wait and we'll watch, but I got to tell you guys, this is more than the time lost from just a simple crash. Something has gone very, very wrong for Bryson Neal in that number 1 Phoenix Racing Yamaha. So we are still watching here at the 8-mile marker. Our producers are telling us they are still watching for Bryson Neal as well. We're sitting here, we're waiting, we're watching, but it is a new, it's still the same leader, but 2nd and 3rd have bumped up. They've gotten back around Bryson Neal. Something going awry for Bryson Neal in that final section of racetrack. And he is, there he is. He has broken a spindle, guys. A spindle or a ball joint. He is trying to limp that machine to get to the finish line, to get himself some points. He should be able to do so, but he is definitely going to fall well outside the top 5. How far back will he fall? We'll have to wait and watch and see. He may be able to hang on to a top 20 finish and score some points, but you can see how slow he's moving there. That what it is, that left side of that machine, the lower ball joint or spindle has broken, and he's actually dragging that A-arm in the dirt. I would venture to pretty confidently say that is contact with a rock that has broken that. That is so dangerous in conditions like this. Anytime you really start pushing in those rock gardens, you can damage that spindle or ball joint, and it just allows that A-arm to drop down and that wheel just flops around there. You know, if you've ever gone down the road and you've seen a wheel just hopping when the shock comes disconnected going down the highway, Imagine trying to do that, but through the woods on uneven terrain. It is nearly impossible to ride that machine. You can see him hanging off the back of it, trying to keep the front end light to keep that arm from digging into the dirt, because if that happens, that machine will come to a dead stop.
Yep, and obviously, you know, he's going to be able to limp it to the finish. He's going to make it there, but this is going to be incredibly difficult, and he's got 1.25 miles to do.
Well,
so
and that's the other thing. Jared, tell us a little bit about, we obviously have some great camera shots here. Here's your leader. This is it, coming to the finish line. Wyatt Wilkin looking like he will get the job done. The first win of 2026 for Wyatt Wilkin, and what a big day for him. Going to be a huge points day for him as well, looking like, with Bryson Neal now most likely falling out of the top 5, possibly out of the top 10, and maybe even worse. We'll have to wait and watch, but Wilkin gets the job done. Hunter Hart in the number 2 spot. In just a few seconds here, we should see the headlights of Jay Shadron coming across the line for his first podium of 2026, and there it is. Jay Shadron going to get the job done and put that Action Off-Road machine on the box. What a great day for Jay Shadron.
What a day indeed. Man, I'm sure nobody expected that one to go the way it did, and as we were talking about, if Bryson Neal cannot get into that top 20, into those points positions, this is gonna be a huge shakeup, especially for Wyatt Wilkin. Coming into today, Bryson Neal had 150 points, Wyatt Wilkin with 110, and then 92 for Hunter Hart. A huge day here for Wyatt Wilkin as he takes the big win.
So looking at the time gaps, the top 20th overall was Talon Stout. He was 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 2 seconds at the completion of lap number 4, sorry, yes. And so Bryson Neal was 1 hour, 36 minutes, so 10 minutes is, with that last lap still hanging in the balance, was the gap that he would need to get in. He's got about a 10-minute window to make that 1.5 miles with only basically 3 wheels attached to the machine, or 3 usable wheels anyway. He's damaged that machine very badly, and he needs to be able to navigate that 1.5 miles of racetrack in under 10 minutes to score top 20 points for the day. Can he do it? Can he gain points? Or is this a full out, essentially DNF? If you don't score in the top 20, he will still be scored, but only the top 20 show points.
Man, what a day for Wyatt Wilkin. The tears are flowing down in the pit area, in the finish line area, I should say, after taking that big win. Man, what a day this has to be for Wyatt Wilkin, doing what some thought was the impossible here today.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for so long. What would it take to grab a win here in 2026? Wyatt Wilkin very vocal, saying he was going to be the guy to do it, and today he made that statement. He came good on all of the claims that he's made that he was capable of it, and proved it here today. Looks like our man Zach Herron is down there getting ready to interview Wyatt Wilkin, but your big winner here today at the Old Gray is Wyatt Wilkin.
All right, thanks guys. I am hanging out down here with your XC1 winner. This is what happens when you grab wins. You got fans coming up, hugging you, high-fiving you. To the victors go the spoils, and you have certainly earned it. Wyatt Wilkin, an XC1 winner, brother, and what a way to do it. We talked about just a few weeks ago, a new level of belief for yourself and Hunter Hart, bringing that fight to Bryson Neal, and man, were you fighting here today. You fought through it, and you got the job done, man. How are we feeling?
I don't even know words, man. I started crying about 2 miles ago, and I was like, well, you got to get there first before you start crying. And when I come through this finish, I was bawling my eyes out. I was being a little baby, but god darn, dude, getting the whole shot and then just leading the whole entire time, I was so stressed out. And then that first couple of laps, I was just trying to manage, dude. The track was so beat, and I didn't know how to set the pace. I was just trying to keep my bike good. And then about the second or third lap, everybody kind of closed up, and I was like, dude, we got to pick the pace up, otherwise they're going to be all up on me. And I started picking it up, started dinging off rocks, and then we all just, me, Hunter, Bryson, we were just chugging along. And I saw Jay was back there. I don't know if he did the alternate pit or whatever, because all of a sudden he was there. I was like, oh, man, he got us quick. And no, dude, dude, there's so much stress. Hunter put like a hell of a, he tried on me. I heard him on the outside. I made a bobble, clipped a rock, and it shot me off the line. And I didn't know if it was him or Beanie, but I heard somebody wheel to wheel, and we drug it all the way out. I shoved him way wide, and then we came together, and then the last lap, I just remembered that line. I was like, I'm not getting past in that spot again, and I executed, hit his line, and I was like, you know what? Let's take this thing to the home, or take it home. And we coming right down here through the barn, and I saw my trainer, Levi Cohen. He just cheered me on, and then all of a sudden his face dropped, and he took off running. And I guess Benio broke a ball joint or something like that and broke. I hate to see that. I didn't know which one of them was. I knew I had a gap, and I was like, okay, let's just manage. So I hate to see that. I like the wheel-to-wheel racing. I wish you would have came all the way down to the finish, but, man, I'm so stoked to get a win. I am so damn happy.
Talk about a way to do it, man. And you've been this close more than a few times. You've been chipping away at it, and you finally get the job done. Wyatt Wilkin, an XC1 winner. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Dude, it sounds awesome. And I have all these people come up and like, yeah, man, I believe in you today. I want you to win. You're going to be the guy. And I always tell them, like, man, I want to. And today I did it. I let everybody, I didn't let nobody down. I'm just stoked, man.
As you should be. There it is. Wyatt Wilkin, your XC1 winner here from round number 6.
Well, if you ever wondered how much it means to someone like Wyatt Wilkin to win one of these races, that shows it very clearly. Talking about breaking into tears 2 miles from the finish line, just overcome with emotion. And this rider right here, Bryson Neal, is still, here he is. He's limping that machine to the finish now. He will finish inside the top 20. As we look now, there are currently 8 riders checked in the overall. Our winner for XC2, Lane McCormick, has checked in. Bryson Neal now crosses the line. That has him temporarily in the 9th place spot overall. We will still have to wait for a few more XC2 riders to check in to confirm if he's able to hang on to that 9th place spot overall. But ultimately, that would mean he would earn 12 overall points, which would be a great salvage given what happened to him in the final few miles of racing. You can see the tail of the damage there. The left front of that machine, the bottom A-arm mangled, ball joint broken, spindle broken. That A-arm is actually pushed back. What a hit he must have taken to that machine.
Bryson Neal with a bad wheel, but he's able to get it across the line. It sounds like we were able to catch up with our 3rd place. Zach Heron going to be standing by.
Yeah, guys, I am down here hanging out with Hunter Hart. You know, it's cool to see the camaraderie. These guys are absolute rivals on the track, but at the same time, they're a racing family. Hunter was just breaking down what happened to Bryson Neal with me, man. You had a front row ticket to it. We're going to talk about your incredible race because you were absolutely flying out there, but we didn't catch it on Racer TV. Tell us what you saw.
Man, dude, Bryson got me last lap at probably the 8.5 right by a rock garden, and man was on a mission. He was headed to the front. I think he was going for checkers or wreckers. And I mean, shit, dude, I've never seen somebody hit the ground so hard. It was straight away 3rd gear, and he just literally stopped and he went probably 10, 15 feet in the air, body quad. And I mean, I stopped and he was on the ground. I said, Bryson, you good? Bryson. And he kind of like motioned thumbs up. And then luckily there were people running at him at that point. And we just kept rolling on from there and tried to run Wyatt back down at that point. But man, just too little too late. Bummed to be that close 2 weeks in a row, man. But no, it was a good day. I mean, we were second into the woods, followed Wyatt all damn day. You know, we were, I mean, at most probably 6 seconds apart all day. And I had a great line right before the 9. And I tried it on the 4th lap just in case it was going to be like yellow to, or 2 to checkers. It just, no, I just needed just that much more again. It's coming, though. I mean, hats off to Wyatt. Ran a great day. There were a couple spots you could have gotten him on early on, and I should have struck while it was a little early on. But, no, I mean, solid dip points day. You know, I mean, it could have been worse. This track reached up and grabbed some people today. And, 3 seconds in a row, almost had 3 whole shots in a row. And it's good. I mean, bike feels good. I wasn't super comfortable the first lap and a half. And found my flow a bit through, which was nice. I mean, honestly, this place has never been great to me. You know, we've got a 9th and a 5th here before, so to be leaving with a 2nd's good. Powerline Park, where we grabbed my first win last year, we're headed there, and then we're headed to my backyard. The Watkins Glen track's going to be less than 15 minutes from my house, so that'll be good. I can assure you we'll be rolling there.
Hunter Hart, another incredible performance, another podium finish. That win's coming.
There it was. Got to catch up with our 2nd place, Hunter Hart. Definitely things could be worse than his 2nd place, as he was saying. Not a bad day whatsoever. That is the way for Hunter Hart to continue to chip away and get his season on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. A great ride for Hunter. And Zach's going to work his way over to get an interview with our 3rd place finisher, Jay Shadron. Just a quick update on that XC2 battle. Lane McCormick able to get the win, 2.5 seconds over Jeremiah Wolf. And folks, potentially for the first time in history, we don't know for certain, but we're pretty sure we have a father-son duo on the XC2 podium. Jeremiah Wolf in 2nd and his father, Brian Wolf, in 3rd. What a podium celebration that's going to be. I might go down there just to watch that one, but I believe Zach may be down with our man Jay Shadron, his first podium of 2026 in the third place spot, and a great ride for Jay Shadron today.
All right, thanks, guys. Yep, down here with third place, Jay Shadron. And Jay, man, this has been a long time coming, I feel like, here in 2026. We've seen you stacking consistent starts, solid finishes up towards the front, and you've been right on the cusp of this podium. Today, we stuck it out. We kept within just a couple of seconds of those guys. You were in the fight all the way through this, and you fought for that third place finish, man. Take us through the race.
Man, yeah, sucks for Bryson, man. I hope he's all right. But, hey, someone had to be there to take it over, so glad I was able to do that. But got a good start, tucked in there behind them guys. I was third into the woods. They're running good, feeling good. Bryson started putting the pressure on me there. I was holding them off pretty well. They just had – actually, I blew a line. Following Hunter, he missed the line, and I was watching him and not the track for some reason. I don't know what I was doing, but I blew the corner, and he passed me there. I was like, all right, we'll just stick with him, stay with him as long as I could. And my crew gave me a sign to pit, and I seen that Wyatt didn't pit, and I pulled in. I was like, everybody else pit, and they're like, no. And I actually cussed them out. I feel bad, but, they had the right idea. I rode my butt off that lap, tried to get the gap back down. They were just, I don't know if they knew or what, but they were hammered down that lap. I got close enough to just pick off Bryson at the end. I got back into third and got back in the fight. And, man, we were rolling out there. It was rough, rocky, hard to hold on, but yeah, I just hit a rock. I took the same line every lap, a little faster, hit a rock, blew my hand off the bars, kind of whiskey throttled. Bryson snuck by me there. And, man, I don't know. I fell off a little bit. I just lost that. Just got him out of sight to the point where the lappers were getting back out in front of me and was losing a little bit of time. And it's like, man, I keep hearing them, just keep pushing and staying as close as I can. And I come around the corner. There's like 3 lappers sideways in the track. There's trees down. I was like, what is going on here? And I seen Bryson off the side, his wheels all sideways. I was like, no way, man. Yeah, so luckily he was standing there and everything, so it looked like he was all right. But, yeah, I'll take it, man. I'll take it. Give me any day. Somebody had to get it.
Hey, like you said, you got to be in the opportunity to take advantage of the situation. You did just that, man. The first podium of 2026, and we heard some of your interviews there from earlier in the race. We're still checking on that first XC1 win, man. And you guys were all right there, wheel to wheel, for essentially an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. We're in the mix for these.
Yeah. No, I can't be happier. No, staying right there in it. It's not like I was a minute behind and then come up and got it. So I was right there still. So I'm happy with that. Happy with the way I'm riding. Just a couple more positions to go.
There it is, Jay Shadron on the box here for the first time in 2026.
Well, there it is, guys. A good day for the Shadrons all the way through. Sierra with a win here earlier and then a podium for Jay. That's a good day in my book.
Yeah, they'll be going to Sizzler for dinner. They're going to go somewhere real nice, maybe Ponderosa. But absolutely, a show these guys put on today. And Bryson Neal, we pumped him up that he would just take what the track was giving. Ultimately, I don't know if we'll have an opportunity to check in with Bryson. Looks like he may have headed back to his trailer there, continuing to limp that machine back. But as soon as we get word, it sounds like we're trying to get a word with him right now. And actually, I'll just stop talking. Sounds like Zach is standing by with Bryson Neal.
All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, talk about a true Bryson Neal gonna give us the story, man. We heard the account from Hunter Hart. He was absolutely blown away that you were able to even get up from that. Take us through what happened and how you're feeling.
Man, track had really good dirt today. I'll start with that. It's really tough to pass. I was in 4th place, first part of the race. Really, really tough to pass. I was able to pass Jay Shadron in literally the exact same place 2 laps in a row. And then, man, everywhere else, I was trying so hard on Hunter. I was just riding his grab bar everywhere. And, man, I just couldn't make anything stick. Track was so tight, really one line. And I finally made something happen right there on the last lap, literally right before we hit the barn. And, man, I was feeling good. 3rd gear, wide open. 3rd gear, as fast as the bike will go. I don't know what happened. I had brand new A-arms. I Loctited, I tightened myself. Ball joint just completely out. The bottom A-arm just completely came out. Anchored into the ground. I don't know if it hit a rock, whatever it dug into, and it just flipped me end over end. And I'm glad Hunter saw it because I don't even know what happened. Rung my bell so bad. I ain't had one like that in a minute. Thank you, Lord, for safety. I can go home with my girls and the family. Dang, that was a good one. But got up, just tried to ride this thing in, went over the bars 4 more times because that anchor just kept on digging in the rocks. I appreciate everybody following me, running with me, lifting my bike up, and I think I got in the top 20. I don't know if no one's told me yet, but I feel like I got in the top 20, so hopefully I got some points. But I'm stoved up and a little heartbroken. You know, really wanted to go for 6 wins today. Feeling good. This Phoenix bike's dialed, but right there in position. Don't know if I could have made something happen, but we could have at least made it interesting coming to the finish and had a really good finish down to the last corners and had a good time with Wyatt. But sucks to lose a podium race. All in all, even if I didn't win, I had second locked up, and it sucks to lose a race and this to happen. But like I said, at least I'm healthy.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I think all the fans at home just glad to see you able to finish the race and, like I said, walking away healthy. Not the result you were looking for, but Bryson, we appreciate you taking what happened.
No problem, man. Thank you.
There it is, Bryson Neal. And you guys, can you cut in and tell me where he did finish in the overall? Did he make it in the top 20?
Yeah, so Bryson crossed the line 9th place overall, so that would be a 12-point score for him today. Will maintain that overall points lead, obviously, coming into the day with 40 points. So a hero's salvage there to be able to, dig that machine out of the dirt, upright it, and ride it. Jared, you would speculate it was around 1.5 miles or so from where he was at through some very tough terrain.
Yeah. They said, I guess if Levi saw it, right before the barn. Yeah, that's the barn's the 8-mile mark. Yeah. Exact 8-mile mark. And we were about 9.3 to the finish there. So about a mile,
1.3 miles.
It's pretty brutal. I mean, and then, that's a gutsy ride, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
That's championship stuff right there.
I'll tell you, a lesser man would have just sat there.
Absolutely. You can see there, we've got Bryson Neal in that number 9 spot, but we'll run it down there. Wyatt Wilkin, your winner today. Hunter Hart in 2nd place. Jay Shadron rounding out the podium. Brandon Owens coming back for a 4th place spot. Stephen Harrell 5th. John Glada Jr. 6th. Your XC2 winner, Lane McCormick in 7th place overall. Jeremiah Wolf 2nd in XC2, 8th overall. Bryson Neal comes back from that big last lap crash to finish 9th overall, and Josh Merritt rounds out the top 10.
So that's the way the cookie's going to crumble here today. Man, I am so just like he was saying, so thankful that Bryson Neal is okay. After that, you can definitely tell he is beat up here in this one. And I think he was talking about how it had new parts. Bryson Neal, as most of these guys, they have the nicest machines that you can possibly think of. So that just shows the intensity that those guys carry into these races.
Well, and Bryson being his own mechanic, I'm sure he's kind of wearing that one as well. But this one was definitely exciting from start to finish here today. There we see Wyatt Wilkin. Obviously, we know now your eventual winner here today, but he was quickest off the line. Got to the first corner first. You can see him just clicking gears, getting into that second corner. This is where things got a little bit crazy. Josh Merritt spinning around there, up on 2 wheels, having to put his leg down, ultimately costing him positions. But Wyatt really controlled this one right from the get-go. He said he didn't really know the pace to run. He was just trying to salvage the machine. Whatever he did all day came up aces. He was leading the way, but a lot of pressure from Hunter Hart. He was hungry after coming so close 2 weeks ago at the Dukes. This was where Jay Shadron, after having lost a position to Bryce in the prior lap, hitting on an off-lap strategy, saying he kind of cussed his crew out, but it paid off for him. He was able to get back around, but when they came to the white flag, it was still Wyatt Wilkin leading the way, Hunter Hart in the number 2 spot, and then Bryson Neal able to get back around Jay Shadron again. We see our sweep riders coming through there, and then this was when things got interesting. Bryson Neal saying that he believes that ball joint just popped out. He didn't hit anything. It dropped down, dug in, flipped him over the machine, and he had to limp that machine into the finish. But Wyatt Wilkin, the final stretches, you see his mechanic Matt Pierce out in the track there cheering him on, and then it was just the final corners until he could check off his first win of 2026, making up a very, very huge 18 points here today in that championship chase. Down from 40 points down, he is now much, much closer in this championship chase. You see Hunter Hart coming across the line there in second. Looks like he's getting the word, and you could say, hey, things got wild. Bryson Neal went flipping, and these guys all telling war stories when it was all said and done, folks.
And you can see the emotions flowing there from our winner, Wyatt Wilkin. Oh, always like to ask, on that white flag lap, can they do the dance one more time? Wyatt Wilkin, he did the dance here today and gets the job done. Well, boys, it has been a good one. This is normally where we like to throw our thoughts in here at the end of the day as we finish up our race recap, our specialized race recap here from the Specialized Old Gray. We'll start with you, Jared. What is your big takeaway here this weekend?
Man, what a statement ride by Wyatt Wilkin. I mean, it wasn't just pure luck. There was no luck involved in that. Absolute phenomenal ride all race long. To lead that thing start to finish was absolutely awesome. And Hunter Hart, pick up something in his post-race interview there that he mentioned, he won at Powerline Park last year. We're going to Watkins Glen after that. Watkins Glen, we've never raced there before. Brand new event. It's basically his backyard. So you know what? Hunter very well could be the man to beat whenever we start rolling in these next couple of rounds.
He very well could be. Johnny, your turn. Big takeaway.
I think for me the big takeaway was the similarities that we saw here today. A much different racetrack. Yes, it was rocky, but the top four, ultimately Bryson finishing ninth, but those top four, the way they ran all day, were the same top four from 2 weeks ago in Kentucky, and they really distanced themselves from the rest of the field. So these four are kind of starting in the push that it seems like Jay Shadron, Wyatt Wilkin, and Hunter Harder putting on to try to catch Bryson Neal, ultimately Wyatt getting the job done today. They've really distanced themselves from the rest of that XC1 and overall field, and that's probably my biggest takeaway is these three guys have stepped up, and they seem to be the forces that are going to try and take Bryson Neal down in 2026.
I can second that. That's going to be my takeaway as well, is that the boys have been putting in the work. They've been doing what they need to do, and it's showing. It's paying off here today. And my next big takeaway is just how hard these guys push these machines, especially Bryson Neal, able to completely tear that machine up. Harder than a man would think to do what Bryson Neal just done to that machine. I know I got to talk to some fans after what we saw there with Liam Draper at the last race. They said, I told my little nephew, he needs to be able to ride that machine till his will is completely gone at the end of the race. I'm going to say the same thing there today about Bryson Neal. Ride that thing until you absolutely can't no more, and that's what he done.
Well, great racing action here today on Racer TV, and obviously this won't be the last of it this weekend here from the Old Gray. We've got quite a bit more action coming your way, and Racer TV will bring you all of that and much, much more. But what we've seen here today has really truly just been exciting action from start to finish. We'll do it again. We'll reset the clock tomorrow at 12:30. We'll start our broadcast for our bike race here from the Old Gray. And then next weekend, the J-Day from Lake Sugar Tree over the GP there. And then Powerline Park coming up in just 2 weeks' time. We're going to do this all again. Hunter Hart saying he's hungry for that one because he got a win there. And then the very following day on Sunday, we'll show you the Powerline Park Pro Bike Race at 12:30 as well. So plenty of upcoming broadcasts coming your way on RacerTV.com. Make sure you tune in for all of them.
It's going to be a good one. And it has been a good one here today. Of course, we would like to give out some thank yous here to end the show. Thank you to our executive producer, Carrie Russell, our producer, Adam Gordon, our director, Don Hampton, our replay artist, Cam Cotter, engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden, second engineer, Jack Renner, our manager, Dan Reinhardt, who I believe is actually having a birthday here today. So happy birthday, Dan Reinhardt, our manager, always making sure that everything here at Racer TV is taken care of. Our official spotter, David Hollywood Kripe. And then our camera operators, Jack, Matt, Adam, Josh, Adam Arndt, Dave Kelch, Dylan, John, and our moto filmer, Brian Risch, who we actually got to see just a little bit of today. Our drone pilot, Gabe Scholl, doing a great job. And then our talent for the day, of course, Jared Bolton, Zach Herron, Johnny Gallagher, and then myself, Jackson Burl. It's been a fun day of racing here on Racer TV. We'll see you for more soon.